We are First Robotics from McAllen High School, McAllen. We are the hosts of the event this year. So Johanna, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, hi guys. My name is Johanna Park, and before we start anything, I'm just going to go over some expectations that we have because, of course, we want this to run smoothly. Um, First, we're going to ask that you stay muted while the presenters are presenting, and there will be questions at the end of each presentation. So just hold your questions till the end, and you'll have an opportunity to ask them. Secondly, we ask that you be respectful of the presenters and your peers because we will be talking to each other a little bit. So just we ask that you be respectful. And three, please don't spam the chat while we are presenting because it can be distracting. So just try to keep the chat to a minimum. And lastly, just enjoy yourself, be yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So to start off, I think we're going to go into breakout rooms and have a quick icebreaker post-way.
I'm making the breakout rooms. We're having a lot of people file in as well, so in a few minutes. But going back to what Johanna said, we also encourage you to use the chat. We don't want you. Y'all can use the chat, but yeah, during presentations, try to keep it to a minimum, not make it distracting. But we don't want it to be awkwardly. Also, we do encourage y'all to, if you want to, I'm gonna do it myself. Put your camera on. Uh, we we don't want to be awkward silence. Um, but we do encourage you. So I'm about to break y'all into breakout rooms. We're getting more people in here as we speak, so I'm trying to assign those as we speak. So, but for those that are here already, and those of you who are leaders of the breakout rooms, be ready to go. So I'm about to put y'all into the breakout rooms.
I think we
The
should be good.
uh, Also, yeah, sponsor McAllen ISD. That's our logo for this year's leadership conference. Very good. The any of y'all have any questions before we do that icebreaker activity? I would assume that's a no. I'm gonna open up the
Sounds like a no.
and y'all join and make sure to talk to each other. That's the whole purpose of it. So have fun. For those of y'all that are just getting here, I'm gonna assign y'all to breakout rooms. Again, if you're just joining, we are assigning you to breakout rooms. If you're just joining, make sure to join your breakout room for a little icebreaker activity, and then we'll be back in the main room for the main presentation, please. Thank you. if you're just joining, we were doing an icebreaker activity, but we are going to close the rooms at 9:15, which means that you probably, like, by the time you join, it'll be time to come back. So I'm going to go ahead and keep you here because we're going to go ahead and get started with our main presentation. So give us about a few minutes while we sort this out. Alright, room should be closing, but everyone should be getting back in here. I'll give it about a minute because all breakout rooms will close in 40 seconds. All right, so for y'all, most of y'all are back in here, so I would like to welcome you again. I know a lot of you joined a little bit after 9, so we didn't really get to introduce ourselves. My name is Josué Cruz, and I'm with first at McAllen. This is my senior year. I've done it for 4 years, and I'm going to be one of the event coordinators today. Johanna, would you like to introduce yourself again?
Hello, my name is Johanna Park. I am also an event coordinator partnered with Josue Cruz. I go to Mac High and I am a president of a robotics team, Legacy. So yeah, that's glad to have you all here today.
For any of y'all that are speaking today, would you like to introduce yourself as well, please?
Hi, my name is Fernando. I'm a part of Legacy, the team. I'm part of McAllen Robotics. I work with manufacturing, and I'm part of the event coordination.
Hi, I'm Ricardo Perez. This is my first year in robotics, and right now I'm currently in charge of CADing for my team, or just helping out with general ideas as I am a noob.
Hi, I'm Maria Cortez. I'm the president of my robotics team. I make sure everyone does what they're supposed to and try to help lead us through this pandemic. It's great seeing you all here.
Hi, my name is Jonah Pompa. This is my second year in robotics, and I'm a junior at McAllen High School.
Hey guys, I'm Ethan. I'm president for my team, and I'm also the programmer. So.
Yeah, I think that was everyone. Again, I'd like to reiterate some rules that Johanna went over earlier. Please, stay muted, respect the speaker. At all times, most of us are gonna be speaking almost like all the time, so just please stay muted. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. So one of our coordinators will get to it because we will have time for questions at the end of every presentation. So just make sure, but please, don't spam the chat, but don't feel free to also use it. If that makes sense, because we don't also want a dead chat. If you want to turn your camera on, you're welcome to. We encourage it, but if you wouldn't like to, then that's fine with us as well. But other than that, we are running a little bit early, but if we do run a little bit early, then I guess that means a little bit bigger break time. I'm pretty sure everyone would like that. So I say we go ahead and get started. So, Mr. Saldana. Yes, sir. All right, take it away, Jonah.
Hey, my name is Jonah Pompa, and I'm going to be talking to you about CTSO officer roles. Next slide, please. I'm a junior at McAllen High School, and this is my second year in FIRST Robotics. Next slide. The officer roles here, we have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, reporter, and parliamentarian. Next slide, please. So the president is kind of the head of the chapter. They're responsible for presiding over the meetings. They work with others and encourage them to work as well. The president is the president possesses the ability to delegate effectively. They're responsible for making impartial judgments regarding important matters. They are responsible to keep members informed of anything that's going on, and they conduct meetings using the parliamentary procedures. Next slide, please. The vice president is kind of the second in command to the president. The vice president presides at meetings and functions in the absence of the president. The vice president is well informed of the issues and skilled in handling the chapter's business. They're also responsible for program planning. So they plan everything and make sure that everything's set. And working together with the parliamentarian, they're responsible for the arrangement of the meeting room and the meeting. And they're also responsible for assisting the president in whatever they need. Next slide, please. The treasurer kind of keeps a hold of all the money with all the financial responsibilities. They keep a record for the chapter funds. So everything that's being bought and sold, or just bought mainly. They're responsible for the bills for annual dues. The treasurer sends out membership records, and they pay all approved bills. The treasurer is also responsible for maintaining accurate records of income and expenses. And they're also supposed to prepare financial statements regarding everything that's being bought. Next slide, please. The secretary kind of assists the president or assists the chapter with the responsibilities. The secretary is responsible for keeping chapter records for continuous reference to everything that's happened, to everything that's going on. They're also responsible for setting the agenda for the meetings and for events. They're responsible for advising the president on agenda during the meetings and keeping them on track. The secretary reads previous minutes and takes new minutes at every meeting. Minutes are pretty much notes, if you didn't know that. The secretary also counts the votes for the elections, and they handle chapter correspondence with other organizations. Next slide, please. The reporter is responsible for getting news about the chapter out to the public. They kind of make everything go public, all the important news and events. They're able and willing to learn to write news stories on activities and major events. The reporter prepares and distributes news releases to local media, like the news channels, the local news channels, and social media pages. Next slide, please. So the parliamentarian is kind of sort of the government for the CTSO chapter in a way. They act as a chapter authority and consultant to the president on procedural matters. They keep him going on track for what he's supposed to do. They have a working knowledge of parliamentary law, and they give their educated opinions based off of their knowledge. And they're also responsible for calling errors in the procedure, call attention to errors in the procedures. Next slide, please. Is that it?
Seems like it. So actually in the chat, I would like for y'all to like kind of introduce yourselves a little bit. So who in here is like a president like of their club? Spam the chat or just interact. How many of y'all are leaders of your CTSO? Yes, Jason. Yes. If you guys would like to know, Jason Arms is the coordinator of First RGV for us. So he's the one who runs all the events. So thank you for everything you do, Jason. All right, Jared, president of BPA. Anyone else? I'm pretty sure there's more presidents out there. Hello, Octavio. Hello, Caleb. Hello, Alejandro. Very good. All right. Do we have any vice presidents out there? And feel free to mic on if you'd like. I mean, open to it as well. Vice president. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and if you have any, like if you're a treasurer, a secretary, a reporter, or a parliamentarian, just put it in the chat. Introduce yourselves. I'd like to know what you guys do. So while you guys are introducing yourselves in the chat, I would like to ask you, are there any challenges y'all have faced as while being leaders? It happens in every club, I could tell you. Last year in my robotics stuff, we didn't have the best, me and another fellow didn't get on very well, but we worked together, we got over it, and we started working together, and that's the whole purpose of it, get to know each other and work together. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to compete, you're trying to win, and you're trying to do, the best for your club. So I could definitely share that story. I see the chat's going off now. Very good. I had 102 of y'all in here, so again, I'd like to welcome y'all. Don't have a club. Well, there's many clubs out there you could join. We obviously we're robotics, so we compete robotics. There's HOSA, Skills USA, many out there. So you can definitely join some. See a lot. There's a lot of schools in here. Rowe, Memorial. I saw Lamar as well. Yes, for sure, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my question. Would anyone like to mic on or anything? Like, have there been any challenges y'all have faced being leaders?
Hi, I'm Esperanza from McAllen. I'm a reporter, and like one of the challenges that I had to face or that we had to face was that because every year in because I'm in FFA and like every year we have like a golf tournament and like since this year we have the pandemic, we usually start early, but now we started like a little bit late, and so there were on cards only like 2 people could go, and yeah.
Oh, it's definitely tough with the whole COVID pandemic. I'm sure all of y'all are affected by it as well. This event would usually be in person. I've gone, I think at least since my freshman year, I've gone to the leadership conference. It's always been quite fun to do and participate in. And now, it's very different to be broadcasting it via computer. I'm sitting in front of my computer broadcasting this, so it's definitely tougher, for all of us. I know our CTSO has also, had a rough start with the whole COVID pandemic. I think many of us could tell you that we miss because we work a lot with like 3D printing, all that design, and we definitely miss that for sure. And it's tough for sure. But anyone else? I saw someone in the chat say keeping everyone active. Would you like to mic on and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the president of BPA Lamar Academy, and I just wanted to say, at first everyone's enthusiastic about joining the club and being active, but then, as the club proceeds, like some may think, oh, this is not for me, and then they'll like miss some meetings or like, just not be an active member. So that's just one of the challenges of running a club.
Yeah, I could for sure. I see that. See, as a freshman, if you have any freshmen here, or even middle school, it's good for y'all to, like Jared said, like maybe you're not sure what you want to do, and I mean, it's good for y'all to explore what you guys want to do because, at first, like there's many subjects out there. I see a freshman. There you go. Yeah, there's many subjects for y'all out there. I mean, many events, many CTSOs for y'all to join. It's good for y'all to explore. But I what I like about CTE is it really makes you explore like what you want to do when you grow up. So I've joined robotics because I want to be a mechanical engineer when I grow up. And so it's given me a lot of like, experience with 3D printing. We design on the computers, we plasma cut, we do all these things, and it's been really fun to do it, but also it's very educational and it could definitely help you in the future. So you can go into college with some experience and you could say, I participate in these events. Some of these CTSOs are known worldwide, nationally as well, worldwide. So for sure. Any other problems y'all have run into, like especially with COVID? I mean, feel free to share it in the chat or mic on if you'd like. How do you join clubs? Okay, so usually, there's a special like class, a CTE class that you take. So I took the engineering class, and then within that class, there's like probably a competition that you could join, but there's also sponsors, and you could talk to your teachers or ask someone around. Because the sponsors events, you go to the room. It's tougher now because of the COVID pandemic. So I would say email them and just say you're interested, and they'll welcome you to your club. And I hope you can find what you'd like to do. See a lot of Makai out there as well. Any names I recognize as well. So.
Hey Jose, can I just add on to what you said? So even if you don't know like what specifically you want to be in, it's okay to try a bunch of stuff and then something will stick. I mean, it's okay if you join something one moment and you're like, I'm not that interested in this, but you join this other thing and you have a real interest in it. That's perfectly fine. It's gonna take a bit of momentum before you actually realize what you want. So just try stuff. Like, don't be afraid. Everyone's afraid of like joining new stuff, even us. Like, believe me, when I first joined robotics, I didn't know what I was doing at all. So it was great to try something that I was scared of, but yeah, it turned out to be great. So don't be afraid and just try stuff.
I was muted. My bad. Like Octavio said, yeah, go to your CT counselor for advice. For sure. They could definitely help you out. And I saw something say, Isabella said, challenges finding new members in COVID, especially freshmen. So, would you like to mic on and kind of like talk about that, or like what have y'all, or introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, hi, I'm Isabella, and I'm the treasurer with First Robotics over at Row. And yeah, it's harder to find new members. You can reach out with social medias, and you can reach out to reminds into different classes and set out announcements, but it's so hard to get those students to connect with you and to reach out to get into the clubs and just make it more welcoming so that they want to reach out. And I think a lot of students are just starting to get confused in this mess that can we still join a club? And, it's just difficult to find a way around it. And I know we've slowly started to like reach out more and put out more word to reach the students, especially freshmen and sophomores that still don't know what they want to do yet. So we're trying to reach out to them more.
Yeah, I can speak for that myself. I have a team. My team is full of seniors. So I need to recruit some freshmen. So that is a very good message. Yes. Because definitely recruiting, and I mean you could try many things. Obviously, it's tough to be on the screen, almost all day, for your classes. I understand that, and I thank y'all for being here. I know it's another few hours of you being on your screen. But yeah, no, I can definitely see where you're coming from with recruiting some more freshmen, getting more people engaged. It's definitely tougher because there are so many distractions to here at home, and I personally a victim to that. I have my phone next to me, but obviously I'm not looking at it right now. But even during class, sometimes it's tough not to look at it. It's very tempting, but that's why, like, I guess do some, outreach. It's tough. Any speakers here today that would like to share something? I know some of y'all. Maria did share. Any of y'all like to share something or a little
I mean, I'll
anecdote?
start it off so it can be like less awkward. Going back to Isabella said, what I recommend is that reach out to your teachers. I know it can be difficult and it might be a long process, but what I recommend is reach out to your teachers, set up a meeting for newcomers so you can have something prepared. Kind of like what we're doing here, where we're helping you guys out. Set up a similar meeting so that you guys can talk, whether it's Google Meets or Zoom. Just set up a meeting. And I recommend making a flyer. I know in school we would see all these flyers and stuff on there, and that's what encouraged a lot of people. So what you can try to do is make a flyer and try to either post it on social media, give it to your teacher so they can post it on their stream. And I'm pretty sure that that's how you can help increase their numbers. I know a lot of us may not have contact with teachers that are from lower classmen, but we do have teachers, and I'm pretty sure they know each other one way or another. So try contacting them so you can set up something to the lower classmen. So that's what I highly recommend. And I know it may seem like it may not work. And honestly, we can always feel like that the chances of it working are not going to be that high. But even if there's slim chances of getting more people, it's still better than nothing. So honestly, what I can recommend is just keep trying at this point, because if not, it's never going to happen. You have to push forward for it and you have to keep going with it. And who knows, maybe you'll have a lot more members. I know we had a few members join this year, some who were even juniors and seniors who never thought about joining until this point. So yeah, just try it.
I would also like to add to the actual officer roles aspect of this. So being a leader does not always mean that there's not going to be any conflict. So I know even with personal experience, leadership is not easy. It is not all like fun and games. It's not all smiles, but it's definitely worth it. So there will be some conflict, but later on, I know we have some conflict resolution presentations, but you just being a leader is more than just telling people what to do. You also have to know how other people will react to certain things and how they're going to like feel about certain like jobs that they have to do. It's a very personal job, especially at this level, at the high school level. So just know that being a leader it doesn't mean that you're like an untouchable. It's more like you're just in charge and um like in charge of getting people like together to work together. So conflict resolution is a huge part of it.
I'll add on to what you said. At the end of the day, like I'm gonna go back to like I said earlier, that y'all are trying to work together to accomplish something. Whether that's win a state championship, go to a national competition, whatever your CTSO does leads to. I know robotics. We eventually go to a state championship if we do well enough. You're working together to do something. So, and obviously you join your CTSO maybe to get experience in the field you're working in. So in the chat, I would like to y'all to ask y'all, what do y'all want to do in the future? Like, what do y'all want to lead this to? Like, why did you join your CTSO? Like, what do you guys want to be? I'll put mine in the chat, guys. I said Meki, right? And that's okay, Gabriel. That's perfectly fine. And I know you mentioned you were a freshman, right? 4 years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I like math. That's the only thing I knew. And slowly and surely, thanks to CTE, Mr. Saldana, who's guided me through all these things. Introduced me to a 3D printer, and that's where I have had a lot of fun. Let's just say I've had a lot of fun with that 3D printer.
And also, it's okay even if you're a little bit older, like me. I'm a senior, and I honestly don't know what I want to do. As of right now, I'm choosing to go into engineering, but I honestly know that I will probably end up changing that, and that's okay. It's okay to not know exactly what you want to do at this point because we are still very young. So don't stress yourself out if you don't know exactly what you want to be.
I'm seeing a lot of engineering out there. Let's go. Yes, for sure. Engineering, engineering is pretty cool. But I'm trying to not be biased today, and I know I'm very engineering based, but I see all of y'all. I see a lot of teachers, surgeons. Medical field has a lot to offer as well. Architecture, yeah. A lot of these fields are growing, and like 10 years from now, you may see McAllen. I remember seeing it pretty small, and I've seen now a lot of roads being constructed, a lot of new technology being introduced. If you ever go to Walmart, they have that like huge thing with like where you could pick up stuff. That was in there. When I was little. I still remember now. All you have to do is literally put your phone up to the screen, and it gets you your item. And it's cool. Technology is really advancing. All these careers, whether it's engineering, medical, all these things are leading up to that. So stay motivated, and like Johanna said, even if you want to switch your career, I believe in college, some colleges do like during your second year you can declare your major. So you don't really have to know what you're doing, even when, like you said, when you're older, when you're a senior, you may not know what you want to do, and that's perfectly fine. But that's why many of y'all may be part of your CTSO to gain more experience within your field, to maybe gain more experience in that, and maybe one day take that experience and do something out there with it. So definitely. So anyways, that's enough of that. We're gonna go ahead and move to our second presentation. So I believe Ricky has a question for y'all. So I'm gonna turn
sorry.
And go ahead.
Okay. Before I get to the question, I'll get to it after the presentation. Sorry. Okay, about me. Hello, my name's Ricardo Perez. My friends call me Ricky, Richard. I'm a senior in high school with no affiliations and clubs besides, obviously robotics. The reason I wasn't in any clubs is because, I really couldn't find anything that interested me because, I was into philosophy, entrepreneurship, but there's really no clubs for that. So machine learning was there, and I was like, what's related to that? Robotics was in it, so I chose robotics. Today I'll be talking about how the engineering design process is used in everyday life, and maybe even teach you how to use it to better your life. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the engineering design process? The engineering design process usually starts with a problem. Then people usually research, develop ideas for solutions, create a prototype, test and evaluate the solutions, and redesign. This isn't the main one, but there's variations of this. Something with defining a problem. Usually a problem that I have is, hey, like I never have time to enjoy my hobbies. So then I do some research, maybe just question myself really on what I'm spending my time on, maybe search up a video on productivity. And then I develop ideas for the solution. This could be jotting notes down and, to really just ingrain the stuff. Again, most of this happens automatically without us even knowing it. So yeah, and then I create a prototype that could be, getting a planner and planning out literally my day and testing and evaluating the solution. That could be me, I guess, finally enjoying my hobbies. And after that, I could see if I'm satisfied with my day and just reason up from there, like, hey, where can I allocate my time to? Like, am I really doing this as good as I can? And just general things like that. Again, it doesn't have to be, again, this can be applied to anything in many like different ways. It's really good how it's like not so concrete. It's more like an abstract thing where it could be applied to anything. And to the right is a quote by Elon Musk that I thought really reminded me of this. And it goes, I think that's the single best piece of advice, constantly thinking about how you can be doing things better and questioning yourself. And that's just worth just a lot. Next slide, please. Okay, using the engineering design process in everyday life. The engineering design process is inadvertently used by most in everyday life without us even knowing it, we just do it. So whether it's developing strategies for video games, like Clash of Clans, Fortnite maybe, or Among Us, people usually just use their intuition really and just, try to problem solve. Next is maybe you're trying to perfect your morning coffee. You can add sugar, remove this, add that for the perfect taste. Planning out your day, like I shared, I'm sure most of us, can get better at that. And Maria will be talking about more about that soon. Next is, choosing an outfit, if you care about that. I know maybe like the more logical orientated people really don't have time for that. which is it's just an odd observation I made. But yeah, choosing an outfit, that can be good. That's one way of, using the engineering design process. We all ask, imagine, plan, create, experiment, and of course, improve. Next slide, please. So it's additional prevalence. You can't really see this one being used in everyday life, but we really are just innately built to use the engineering design process as a species, I think. We started as being nomads, just hunter-gatherers and just living life, like monkeys, essentially. After that, we made civilization, Mesopotamia came around and we just found ways to make things better and better. We made transportation systems, better defense mechanisms, offense mechanisms, like weapons, stuff like that. Then Rome or Greece came around. I'm not too sure what that image is on the bottom left. But yeah, we were just getting better and better. Then New York City came around, modern, today's world came around, we're really just pushing the limits now. And this can look advanced right now, but to a human, like 10,000 years from now, we could look like the nomads from back then. So that just really goes to show you how good the engineering design process really is and how we really use it. And, maybe one day this could be like within the next 20 years, we could be on Mars and, just going beyond that. And before I conclude, I'd like to ask you guys, like a pretty good question, and feel free to elaborate because, this has to be much longer, but the question is, what's the most complex question? What's the most complex problem you've had to solve? And what were the steps that you took to solve that problem? Be as lengthy as you can, you get to show off your skills, I guess. So yeah, if anyone in the chat, or you can mic on, if anyone wants to share, the most complex and difficult problem they solved and how they went about solving it, please do.
I'll start off first. Hopefully some people in the chat, type something. So every year our robotics program, we're given a challenge. Whether this year it's to shoot these little those like circle things. I'm not sure what the name of them are called, and we have to shoot them into these 3 boxes that we have an option to. Obviously the top one is the highest rewarding, and the bottom one is obviously the less rewarding, and then the middle one it has a lot of room. So if you shoot it in there, you're shooting for your opponent, so you're giving them points. So we, as a robotics team, we have had to use the engineering design process. Can we go back to the engineering design process slide, please? So this is obviously a recurring process. It's not only applied. I'm using it in engineering because that's what my CTSO does, right? So first we have to identify the problem. So it doesn't really have to be a problem in negative connotation. It can literally be like trying to accomplish it. What are you trying to accomplish, pretty much? So we're trying to make a robot that can shoot and do all these tasks. So then you research, what can I use? Like, what are the specific tools or supplies I can use to make this possible? So in this case, we use motors. We use a lot of servos, which are things that rotate, metal, and we find what's the best design for us. So that's what we start developing. And we create prototypes because it's important for us to prototype something because we don't want to like other waste material, but we also want to see what is our idea capable of. And we test and evaluate, and this process takes months. We go through this and it takes months to perfect it, to know what we want. And then we just keep redesigning it. So these last 2 steps that you're seeing that are lighting up, those 2 we spent a lot of time on. But at the end of the day, it's for us to accomplish something. And like that's robotics, and that's what we do. But I'm pretty sure y'all's clubs that do something very different. So in the chat or someone might on, what do y'all do? Like what is what you're trying to accomplish, and how do you get there? How do you perfect that skill that you're trying to do? Someone like to type in the chat or mic on.
Well, like on FFA, like everybody thinks FFA is like with animals, and like it's not like I mean, it is true, but like it's more than that. Like there's like welding or like, and like there's like different kinds of stuff. Cause like in FFA, like if you want to be like a vet or like a zoologist or a zookeeper, like FFA is like a program for like if you go to show, then like you could show. Like it doesn't matter how old you are, like you could still show. Like for me, like I showed a hog or a pig like for 2 years, and like it's like a lot of fun.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you're having fun. Yeah, for sure. You know, you have to. There's a lot of things you can do. Anyone else want to share?
I have something to elaborate with FFA. So it's not just showing, there's also contests like LDEs and CTEs. So there's like public speaking, job interviews, like there's different contests you can do. So there's just not showing. You also like learn leadership in that club. Everyone's a family in that club. Like it's the best.
It definitely does sound like you guys learn a lot of leadership skills, and I honestly didn't know that there was like so much that went on in the background because like from an outside point of view, but that's really interesting and it sounds really productive. Do you guys think that you use the engineering design process in any way? So it's just the process of getting over problems. So do you see that pattern in y'all's clubs too?
Jared said yes. Feel free to mic on if you'd want, if you'd like. You know, you gotta to keep the conversation going. If
I
not,
think
like,
that it's really important to recognize that a lot of us strive to keep getting better continuously. So after I feel like we define the problem unconsciously. Like we can recognize problems really easily, and after we solve them, we look up to see if there's another problem there, and we solve that problem. So I think we use this design process unconsciously, not knowing that it exists, but we use it to allow us to get better continuously.
for sure. Hello, Octavio, by the way. You can use it in various ways. Yeah, like you said, you're not aware that you're using it, but you are. You really are.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you can keep going. Ricky.
Right. So because this is my presentation section and the chat's, you know, a little shy, I don't know if some of you guys from the robotics team maybe want to, you know, share what's the most difficult problem you guys had to solve, whether it be personal or, you know, on the robotics field. I don't know if Saldana or you guys want to share something.
I'll share, Ricky. I think one of the toughest issues we had, especially my sophomore year, was balancing out each other. We had issues where some of
Is it just me or did her audio cut out?
It cut out for me as well.
Yeah, mine too.
Maria, I don't think you can hear us. Yeah, she cut it.
Oh no.
You cut out. Okay, now we can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, my internet's been. But yeah, no, like there were moments where we would struggle to balance out each other. Some of us were a little too commanding, some of us were too.
I think she cut out again, right?
Yeah, it happened again.
Yeah, she cut out.
Yeah. Yeah, the chat's saying that too.
You can't get along with your team, then that's going to be your biggest issue. It doesn't matter whether the issue you have. If you can't get along with your team, that's your biggest issue. So for me, the biggest issue was try to get everyone on the same page and try to move forward with that, because everyone is different. And I can guarantee you that like a lot of teams in robotics are way different from each other. So it's important to like work together and get to know each other. And it's great for team bonding. Like honestly, I don't think I would have done as well with my team if I hadn't gone along with them and like gotten to get them I'm so sorry, gotten to get them to know them better. Like you need to know your team. So yeah, that was the biggest problem I had.
Yeah, going off of that last point, how you have to be close to your team. I got really lucky with my team. Most of us are like best friends, and it's honestly ideal if like your team is also like you consider them friends. So I know that it makes it a lot easier so you can be more upfront and you can be more honest and really solve problems when you get close to your team. So I would recommend, just like Maria said, getting close to your team so that you can solve the problems.
Does anyone else have like an example or something they'd like to share?
I have an example, and this one actually y'all people from first can relate to. Basically, in robotics, we have a section of the competition called autonomous, right? So autonomous means that the robot has to function by itself with just the click of a button, right? We have no control over it through an actual controller. We just click a button and it performs tasks on its own. So a big part where we can use this design process is there, right? So we define the problem. Okay, we want the robot to move forward, right? We research, we learn about how we can do that. We develop ideas for completing the task. Okay, so we want to move this wheel forward this for this amount of time, and then this one too for this amount of time. Then we create the prototype. We actually code the program. We test and evaluate the solution. We actually put it in the field and see if it works. And then based on that, we can redesign, analyze for any issues that we had. And that's how we define the next problem, and we continue the cycle like that.
Yeah, for sure. I know, Miss Benya, you were trying to say something earlier. I saw you unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, Diana Pena, one of your CTE coordinators who oversees STEM. How about FCCLA? So FCCLA is basically your human services, your social clubs. Have you all, can you see how you've used the engineering process in recruiting members, keeping members in any of your contests?
Feel free to mic on. Don't be shy. Hoping we can have more people with cameras on and talking at the end of this event.
Yeah, guys, come on. We're supposed to be leaders, not to call y'all out, but come on.
I do believe there are some door prizes also, and so it's a good idea to go ahead and participate. We want to hear from all of you guys. Remember, you don't need a title to be a leader, and I just want to give kudos to our first teams from Mac High who are doing an amazing job. But see how it can relate in your CTSOs. We've heard from FFA, heard a little bit from BPA, but we haven't heard from HOSA and FCCLA and DECA.
I know I'm not in any of those clubs, but I am with robotics, and we do have a part that they could probably relate to, which is our presentations. And I know we do struggle a lot with putting together our presentations that we have to perform in front of a judge, and we only get one shot at it. And it's so stressful because we have so many people that have different presenting styles, and sometimes you want to talk over each other. So we do have to define that problem that, yes, there are a lot of us. We have a lot that we need to say. We have a time limit. So we're setting those constraints and making sure that we get all of our stuff said that we need to get said, our criteria. So then we bump into, researching, and that may be not really research as in academically, but like, how can we adjust each person's personality to fit into this presentation and to make sure that, it flows. So, developing ideas and solutions, we're going to move everyone around and see, okay, how do you present? What are you going to talk about? Where are we going to place you? And then after that, we start practicing. We do a lot of practicing with our presentations since we are maybe sometimes 8 to 10 people in a room at a time. And we all have to present, we all have to speak, we all have something to say. So once we go into practice, we test it in front of older members, people that have graduated already. We invite them back and we say, hey, we'd like you to come and observe us for a little bit. Or we'll do it in front of our teachers, sponsors, and we say, please judge us, and judge us with no caution. We want constructive criticism. Be harsh with us. We want to be doing it right. So I know we had one, her name was Millennium. She had graduated and we invited her back to come watch us. And she was very harsh with some of the guys because they like to fidget. And she's like, you have to sit still. You want to look professional. So that really helped us with redesigning and coming back around, circling back around and taking a look that our new problem was movement. We had to sit still. So then that just design process started all over again in order to make sure the presentation just looked perfect.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, does anyone else have something to share or something they've run into, or like they have to like a problem or something they like? What do you want to accomplish within your club? I know Benya had mentioned FCCLA. It's like what like or Jose as well. Like what do y'all do? Like what are you guys trying to accomplish and how do you get there? Anyone from the 3 schools can mic on.
Is Ashley Trevino here from McAllen HOSA?
Yes, I'm here.
You want to elaborate on how what HOSA does and how you've maybe used the engineering design process to accomplish something?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's certain aspects of this engineering design process that can be applied to all clubs. I wouldn't say that like every piece of it, obviously like we're not like creating prototypes and like redesigning things like how robotics teams would be, but there are different aspects. Like for us, basically in HOSA, there's a lot of different events that you can participate in. So for example, me last year, I worked with a team. A few of my team members from last year are actually in this meeting right now as well. And we basically compete in an event. It's called Parliamentary Procedure. And we hold like kind of like a mock meeting. And we have to make sure that we're following all of the specific rules from a certain book. So that's like where the research part would come in, because we definitely have to be researchers and making sure that we know every little detail, how to respond properly to every like question asked in the mock meeting and everything like that. Developing ideas, it's actually like the whole competition aspect of it is like they kind of put you on the spot. So I think you have a few minutes and they give you a problem and certain steps that you have to take to solve that problem during your mock meeting. So that's like when we have to figure out how to develop the ideas and the solutions. We kind of like, and I guess that would kind of be like creating the prototype, but like not a physical like prototype, you know? And then we perform it for the judge, and that's how it works for us basically. But I know that there's a lot of different events in HOSA. That's just the one that I participated in last year. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with HOSA. This is my 3rd year, and I've had a lot of opportunities to go and meet new people and experience new things. So for anybody who doesn't have a club in CTSO, because I know some people were saying that they don't have a club, I would really encourage trying to find one that you'll be interested in, because it's really, really cool.
Thank you for sharing, Ashley. And I'm sure that translates into your fine arts portion of your life as well.
Of course, yeah.
I guess I'll share one. Fernie, are you there? Let's see if he's there.
Sorry, my mic's like manually muted. My bad.
Guy at the beginning of last year did not get along at all. We're on the same team, by the way. So you can turn your camera on, Fernie. We didn't get along at all, and you know, when you're on the same team, it's tough. It really is. It's tough to, you know, make something work when you're just not, you know, understanding each other at all. But I think it came down to us, you know, finally like stepping up, and I'll go through the process here, I guess, and you can go along with it with me, Fernie. Define the problem. So obviously the problem was we weren't getting along, right? So we weren't getting anything done, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Was it
Yeah,
me or
there's
he?
like a bunch of, I forgot who it was, but
I think you lagged a little bit. It might have
oh
been me.
yeah, my internet's unstable. Hold on.
Yeah, but me and this guy did not get along at all. And you know, that's the problem when you're trying to accomplish something, especially when, you know, when we have high expectations, you know. So then obviously we didn't actually go on the internet and research, right? But we like looked into like, hey, look, this is what we have to do, you know, like made like kind of like a not a pros and cons list, but not actually made a pros and cons list, but we're like, hey, look, if we're not gonna get along, we're not gonna get anything done. We're not gonna do anything, and it's just gonna be a whole disaster. The pros of it would be, you know, get along. Not only would be friends, but we would get to work and, you know, accomplish something. So that's when we started working together, and, you know, we went through this process of, you know, like, okay, look, this is how we get along. Maybe this is what you don't like, you know, because like everyone's different. You know, stuff that maybe like let's say people like to like prank each other. You know, like maybe other people don't like to prank each other. You know, so you have to identify, you know, like how are you guys gonna get along, and how are you guys gonna work with each other. And finally, you know, I think we found that, you know, that spot where we start getting along with each other. We start working, and we designed the robot. You know, and that's how it worked. Bernie, do you have anything to say?
No, I think you basically much covered it. It just took like a while to like get on the same page, get focused, and redirect. And that's basically all we needed to do.
Yeah. I saw someone type something in the chat. Janessa, would you like to mic on? It's fine if you don't, but it'd be good to get the conversation going. I think it's Janessa Mendez, right? No, you should, but would you like to mic on and kind of just like put that into words, you know, like so we can hear it?
Yeah, so for our FCC club, we just we like to strengthen the function of family as a basic unit of society. And we do competitions regarding topics that are not like spreading awareness. So I know that we don't use like research or creating a prototype, but we do also have a like I know we do presentations regarding competition and setting an agenda, whether it's old business or new business.
Yeah, I think like you said, setting an agenda, you know, identify what you have to work on and stuff like that, and that's definitely important, you know, to take into account. All right, so I think we're gonna have to move on to our next presentation here. So we have like a little bit of transition period. Maria, let's see.
All right. I'm gonna apologize right now if my Wi-Fi decides to give up on me. So this section is how to do it all, how to manage your time, how to manage balancing all your extracurriculars and your grades. So next slide, please. So
Hey, Maria.
Yes.
Before you go on, I just want to say that you're getting great advice from Ms. Maria Cortez, who is our Dean's List winner. Yes, I didn't want to embarrass you, but that's a great accomplishment. Dean's, Jason, if you're there, can you mic on and explain what that is, please? Because the advice that she's about to give you is coming from a person who accomplished something really incredible.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. And yes, we are very proud of Maria. She is the inaugural Dean's List winner in the Rio Grande Valley for FIRST Robotics. And to put it in perspective, there are more than 600,000 students in 100 countries around the world. And this year, or I should say this last season, just ended in February, we were proud to get notice from headquarters that Maria was selected one of 10 students from around the world to achieve the recognition as Dean's List. And Dean is not the traditional Dean's List that you would think of in school, but Dean Kamen is the founder of FIRST Robotics, and we encourage all of y'all to Google Dean Kamen and check out some of the 130 patents that he has. But anyway, we're very proud of Maria, and we're looking forward to her presentation this morning.
All right, no pressure there. Now I can't mess up. All right, so here's a quick rundown of what we are going to do. I'm going to introduce myself, then we're going to play a quick game of Never Have I Ever, and then I'm going to offer some advice and probably share a life story or two. And then I'm going to ask you guys questions. Please interact. I do not do well with awkward silence. And then I'm going to close with some things you should keep in mind as to the future, your planning, and all that stuff. So next slide, please. All right, so hi, I'm Maria Cortez. I'm a senior at Mac High, and I'm in a bunch of stuff. I'm in robotics, I'm in tennis, I've been in Battle of the Books since middle school, I'm in orchestra, I just joined Skills this year. So I'm in a lot of stuff, and I have learned a lot that I need to sacrifice a lot of things in order to do better in other stuff. I'm gonna try to help you guys balance out and give some advice on how to prioritize. And yeah, that's a picture of me and my sister. Quick sentiment, she is probably the reason why I do everything. She's what motivates me, and I'm pretty sure one of our presenters will talk about motivation later. So next slide, please. So let's start with the game of Never Have I Ever. We're gonna do the little 5 fingers. So quick rundown on how you play. You put a finger down if you felt that, done that, or essentially just done that. And if you haven't, you keep your finger up. So never have I ever felt so nervous before a competition. I have. Never have I ever freaked out while I was in the interview. I have. Never have I ever done things at the last minute right before a competition. I have. Never have I ever, never have I ever had to get stuff at the last minute because I realized, oh no, I forgot everything. Never have I ever stuttered through an interview and ended up doing horribly bad, because I know I have. Never have I ever freaked out because my grades were low and I needed to pass in order to get into competition. Never have I ever freaked out that I wasn't doing my job right. Never have I ever panicked that I was a leader and I felt like I wasn't doing a good enough job to help my teammate. All right, so from what I can gather, we're all human. Yay for us, we're human and we're not robots. Okay, so the reason I wanted to play that game was I wanted to show everyone that we're all the same, that we all have the same worries, that we all freak out, we all panic. Honestly, right now I'm internally panicking because I don't want to mess up. So that's what we all feel, and that's what we all go through. So next slide, please. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure we all know this. Life is really hard. It is really hard before COVID. It's really hard now, and it'll probably still be hard afterwards. So my advice is you have to know what you want. And if you are unsure about what you want, take a step back to reflect. I've had moments in my life where I question, what is it that I want to do? Let me give you a rundown of how indecisive I am. When I was little, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to open a restaurant. I wanted to be president. I wanted to be a music teacher. I wanted to be a lawyer. And now I want to be an engineer. And now I'm thinking of bioengineering. So that's how indecisive I am. So what I did to get to this point, to realize that I want to be an engineer, is that I looked at what mattered to me. I looked at, what do I want to achieve with my life? Because if you do not know what you want to achieve, you will never get there. it's okay to not be sure right now. It's okay not to be sure in the future. Life changes and we adapt to it. So the way I'm handling things right now is that I found something that I enjoyed, which was robotics. My freshman year, I wanted to be a music teacher, which sounds ridiculous now that I think about it. And then I got into robotics and STEM. And I was the only girl in my class, and I felt like that was wrong. I felt that I wasn't supposed to be there, and I felt that I was walking into a mess that I didn't even know what was going on. But I started learning from it, and I started prioritizing it more. I started liking it more, and I realized this is the thing I want to do because it challenged me. And what I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to this, is we like things that challenge us. Sure, we're like, oh, this is so much work. Oh, I hate this, I hate that. But at the end of the day, you're still doing it because you like it. If not, you wouldn't be there. So find what you like, try different things out. And then from there, you'll be able to make a list of your priorities. I know I've had to give up classes because I had to prioritize robotics. I had to prioritize my grades. Some of the classes I gave up this past year, I gave up ASL. I joined it last year. I loved the class. I still wanted to do it. But unfortunately, I was already committed to too many other things that I couldn't do it. So I had to drop it out and I had to focus on what really mattered to me more. It's gonna hurt. It really hurts when you have to give something up, but it's part of the sacrifice you have to make in order to manage yourself. Because if you don't give something up, you're just gonna put way too much weight on yourself and you're gonna come collapsing. Because I know I've had moments where I've wanted to break down, I've wanted to cry, all because I couldn't manage myself properly. And sure, when you take a class out or when you take an activity out, it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna feel better afterwards because that's one less responsibility and that's one more weight in order for you to become committed to the path you're taking. So next slide, please. This is the part where I want you guys to ask me questions and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. I know it's kind of hard right now because we're not face to face, but anyone who has questions on how to decide and how to prioritize, I am here for it. If no one is going to ask questions, then I will proceed to tell you what to do. So feel free in the chat or mic on.
How did you decide what you were going to get rid of and sacrifice?
All right, well, that was hard. What I had to do was I had to really think about the future, which I know no one likes to do, but it's important to think about a future plan. Even if it's not permanent, it's a setup for what you want to build up to. It can change as long as you go, but that long-term plan, that plan of the future is what plans your short terms and your future goals. So for me, all of this kind of started sophomore year. I wanted to take welding, but it was a block periods and I did not have the room in my schedule because I was already committed to robotics. I was already committed to tennis. I already was committed to orchestra and I had already been in those things so long and I enjoyed them. So it seemed a bit ridiculous to me to give up all that stuff I already been in for a long time and try this new thing. So I had to give up trying something new. And then I did ASL, and then this year I had to give it up in order to decide what matters to me because I have decided that I wanted to go into engineering. ASL doesn't necessarily pertain to that, so I decided to get rid of that class and I took an engineering class instead. It's hard to sacrifice, but you need to know kind of what you want, and I know that's kind of hard at this point, but you need to have a general idea. I'm looking at the chat from Diana. How do you balance school functions and clubs on top of your everyday life? You have to lean on people. You have to. Because I'm gonna be honest, you can do all that by yourself, but if you don't have the support from others, it's gonna be hard to do it. It's gonna be hard because you need that support. So like I said, you need to prioritize what matters more and you have to learn to settle on certain things. You have to say, hey, this is the amount of progress I can make today, and this is what I'm going to do. I do not want to overexert myself. And that's something I feel like we all do. We all overexert ourselves, and we shouldn't because that hurts us. That hurts us physically and mentally, and that's something we shouldn't do. you need to find a way to balance. And if you're not good at that, find your support people. They will help you out. I know I couldn't have settled on the stuff I wanted to do now if it were not for my friends, my parents, or my teachers. They're the ones who told me, think about it this way, like you're overthinking it. And that's what we do a lot. We overthink. And what I like is to get a perspective from someone who's not in my shoes, who's like, they don't know what's going on in here. They don't know what I'm feeling. So they give me the most logical and the most straightforward thing I should do. Are they right all the time? No, but it's good advice to have. It's a good idea to get a perspective from somebody else so that they can help guide you. And I know they always say, oh, don't listen to your friends, don't do this or that. And I get that. You're not supposed to completely listen to them, but having advice from them helps in order to balance your life. And as far as functions and clubs go, like actually finding the time to do it, you need to organize your time. And that's part of the thing I did too. I know sophomore year, I decided to take, instead of taking an AP class, I took a CP class because I wanted to focus more on robotics. I wanted to get the hang of it first before I threw myself all in. And then that helped me in junior year get more AP classes and learn how to balance it more since I got the hang of doing robotics. So I know not everyone wants to do that. I know everyone wants to take those advanced classes, but if you have to, it's okay to take a step back and just like remove one class, downhill it down a level so you can get used to it. Because the main point I'm trying to get here is do not overwhelm yourself. If you overwhelm yourself, you're not going to get through it at all, and you're just going to feel miserable. So that's what I'm trying to establish here. Any other questions? Who creates clubs? Who creates the clubs? I really do not know. I'm going to say the schools create the clubs. How do you deal with it? Okay, how do you deal with that? Well, how do you deal with disappointing people from those classes and clubs you had to give up? Well, you just have to accept it. You can't expect to satisfy everyone. That is not the point of you trying to live your life. What you're supposed to do is satisfy yourself. What makes you happy? Because if you're going to go off and satisfy other people, that's just going to give you off the track you want to be on. You have to be able to put your foot down and say, this is what I want to do, and you can't tell me what to do. Because I get it. Like with parents, some of them have certain ideas for us. With teachers, they're all like, oh, you should be so good for this. Or your friends will be like, hey, you need to join this because we're in it. No, it's about what you want. And it's okay to say no. I feel like we all are like in a phase where we're like, oh, I can't say no to that. Oh, I have to be polite. Oh, I can't do this. No, you have to put your foot down. Because if you do not put your foot down, then how are you going to expect to move forward? You have to be willing to say no. And yes, it's going to hurt. And yes, you're going to probably think back to it and say, man, that hurt. It really was bad. But sometimes you have to have a little pain to gain a lot more. Okay, I'm looking more questions at the chat. Do you have any specific methods for planning your day, week, month, or do you involve a use of a planner or another method? Okay, so I wouldn't use a planner my first or second year of high school until my teacher made it extra credit, which turned out to be a good idea. So I do recommend a planner. Planners do help, but I understand for the people who do not like planners, what I recommend is that you have a list of priorities at least. Like, what if you're in several clubs, what is your priority? For me, this is my setup. My priority is robotics. Then after that, it's tennis. Then after that, it's orchestra. So you have to know how to structure your activities. Because if you don't, you're going to be all over the place. You have to know which is the most important, and then from there, coordinate accordingly. Let's see. How do you keep from overwhelming yourself? Take a break. I don't always listen to this, but you need to take a break. You need to be able to take a break when you need it. What I do is, if I have a lot of work one day, I do one task and then I'll take a break and then I'll do another task. If I have easy work where I can get rid of it like really quick, I'll do that first, because for me, it gives me anxiety having a list of a bunch of stuff. So if I can get easy stuff out of the way, that's what I do. When I have my long assignments, every time I complete it, I take a break. And depending how long an assignment is, you need those breaks. So if an assignment's taking me 3 hours, I'll take maybe a break 5 to 10 minute break after each hour. So you don't feel like your brain is being overloaded. And you have to make sure you either have a snack. If you haven't eaten, eat, take that moment to take a break. If you need a nap, take a nap. It's okay. Don't feel that, oh, I have all this stuff done. I need to do all this stuff and then I can't rest. I can't do this. No. And talk to your teachers. Teachers are more understanding than we give them credit for. Like, I know I've had friends who are like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't meet the deadline. Can you give me an extension? Or like, hey, I'm having family issues. It's okay if I get a 2-day extension. Teachers understand, especially at this point. So don't be afraid to talk to them. Like, be able to do that so you can relax more. Let's see. If you want to create a club that is approved by school, you have to apply the description in the plan. Yes, I highly recommend that. You'll need to do that. What do you do when your activities become extremely stressful or burdening? Well, take a break. If they feel overwhelming and you need some time to yourself, take the time to yourself, because you won't be any good to your team or your classes if you cannot function properly. Like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take a break. And sometimes you're going to have to say, hey, I'm taking these 2 days off. I need it. I'm not in a good place right now. Take the days off. It may be like, oh no, I'm not being good enough. Oh no, I'm being weak. No, it's not that at all. What you're doing is taking care of yourself. And that's what your team wants. Your team isn't gonna say, oh, you didn't show up. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you didn't do that. No, your team is understanding. Now, if you don't give a reason for it, then of course they're gonna be mad at you or something. But if you're saying, hey, I'm not doing good right now, can I take this break? I'm pretty sure they will understand. Especially now, like, I know I struggle a lot, and I talk to my teachers. I communicate with people, hey, I'm not going to be here today, or hey, I'm not going to do this, or I'm not feeling well. You have to do that in order to be able to be a part of the team, because if you don't take care of yourself first, then how can you expect to be a part of a team? Okay, what is the most common challenge that you have faced in robotics? Well, before COVID, it was more like trying to get everything done. But now after COVID, I feel like my biggest challenge is to make sure my team is okay. Since I'm the president of my team, I always want to be there for them. I always want to make sure they're okay. I do not want to stress my team out more than I have to, especially in these times. So right now, the biggest challenge I'm facing is making sure they're participating, but also that it's not hurting them. But before that, my biggest challenge in robotics was getting things done, making sure everyone was participating, making sure everyone was doing this or that, making sure it was functioning as it should. I'm not going to say perfectly, because no team functions perfectly. It needs to function in the way that it normally would. So how did you go about finding an inner reason for why you do things? I noticed that not having a why made me drop everything. Okay, yeah. You need to have an inner reason. And it's kind of hard to answer that question, because it's more about what you want. And I know that's hard to find, but for me, what made me click that day in robotics was I had a passion for it that I didn't even realize, because I'm a person who loves to be challenged.
I don't know, it's just me, but did she cut off for y'all?
She
Yeah.
cut out for me too.
I will give her like a couple
Okay.
seconds.
All right, thanks, Jose.
Maria, you're back. Hello.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back. Okay, keep going.
Yay, I'm glad I apologized before this started. Yeah, but it's more about you have to try stuff in order to find yourself. And I know that's kind of like, how do I do that now? Well, research stuff, try different stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a list of hobbies you can find. And once you have those hobbies, you can start getting into it more. Like for me, one of my hobbies has always been reading. I love reading way more than I probably should. And I found Battle of the Books, and Battle of the Books helped me compete in something I really love to do. So find something that works with you, and that will definitely help you find what career you want. I know it's tough right now, and I know we're struggling with it, but just try different stuff and you'll be fine. Believe me, you'll feel so confused at the moment, but when you realize it, you'll know. So we have something from Joanna Gonzalez, not a question, but I want to express how difficult it is to make these habits. But if you start developing these types of reflective personal priorities, it will not only help you for clubs, but also for growing as a human. I only wish someone said to start thinking about these things when I was in school. Start with just a list and organize yourself. What is important to you? Thank you, Joanna Gonzalez, for sharing. I definitely agree. It's hard because like you look back and you're always like, oh, I wish someone said this. Oh, I wish someone did this. Well, when you realize that, you have to use it in your future life. And not only that, but pass it down to your younger classmates and stuff. Pass it down to the lower classmen. Pass it down to a family member or someone who you know who could use it. It's all about going around and sharing what you know. If you don't share what you know, then people will be having the same thoughts you did. And that's the last thing we want. We want to prevent this from happening and we want to help other people. So I believe that is very important and that's what we need to do. From Diana Rodriguez, I feel some people don't like to branch out since they might feel embarrassed about that, but no, it's not. It's okay to find what you love. Thank you, Diana, for sharing that. I'm sorry if I mispronounced any names. But yeah, she's right. You have to branch out. If you don't branch out, then there's no way for you to explore or for you to find yourself. You need to do that. And don't be scared. Believe me, walking into robotics on the first day when I joined that STEM class, I was the only girl and it scared me so bad because I thought I was in the wrong classroom. I thought maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I had so many doubts. But once you push past that, you get through it and you can achieve so many amazing things. Like I became VP, now I'm president, I won that award. It's all about taking the first step. And I know we're all scared to dive into the deep end, but that's what you gotta do. Remember, nothing in life is ever easy. If it's worth it, it's not gonna be easy. So you have to go through it and just take that step. Okay, Saldana, next slide, please. Okay, so these are some things I would like for all of you to keep in mind. When you're planning all these things out, prioritize. I cannot stress that enough. That's the most important thing. What matters to you? What is your goal? What do you want? Not what others want, what do you want? That's the most important thing. You have to be willing to make sacrifices, whether it's for a club, whether it's satisfying others, whether it's saying, hey, I need to take a break and I need to take some time off. Instead of focusing on all this stuff, you have to sacrifice certain things because what matters is you. If you can't have that stability, if you can't organize yourself, then you're never going to get anything done. So you have to reflect. You need to reflect because you need to know what makes you happy. Because the last thing you want to end up doing is being in an office where you hate your job or being, I don't know, let's say you're an indoor person and you're outside and you don't like that. That's the last thing you want to do. And then once you know what you want or have a general idea what you want to do, plan in short-term, long-term goals. Or even then, I recommend you have like little small goals that make you happy. Like do that. Like I do this where I'm like, okay, I want to take a break here and that's my goal. I'm going to take this break and it's going to make me happy. Or, hey, I have a big project coming up. I want to work on this. I'll plan it accordingly. So when it's done, yay, I'm happy. And also know what you're good at and know what you struggle in. I know that in the beginning, I struggled with talking to others. I was very much an introvert and I was always scared of speaking because I thought I was going to say something wrong or make fun of myself or stutter. And at this point, if I stutter, I'm just like, okay, fine, it's fine. So yeah, know what you're good at, know what you struggle, and just build it up. Make your areas of struggle strong and reinforce what you're already good at. You have to be decisive. And I know we all hate being decisive, but the moment you make a decision, that's going to make your life easier. You can ask any one of my friends. I'm probably the most indecisive person they have ever met. And you have to make those decisions. Believe me, if you learn to say yes, if you learn to say no to this, if you learn to say, I'm going to achieve this, then life will be so much easier. So yeah, just keep in mind to breathe and don't be scared. Find support in any way you can. And if you ever want to reach out to anyone, whether it's a teacher or a friend or a parent or a family member, find someone who understands you, because if you do not have that support, it's going to hurt a lot and you're going to feel that you can't do anything. You need to find that motivation. All right, so that's all my slides. Thank you so much, everyone. If you have any other questions, let me know.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations on the Dean's List award for sure. Anyways, moving on. I believe we have a CTE presentation coming up, Miss Benya.
Yes, we do. We have our next presenter who is going to kind of carry on what Maria is talking about with time management.
Are you able to share your screen, Miss Benya?
Give me 1 second. Mr. Gonzalez, I saw you come in the room. Are you in?
Yes, hello.
I'm going to give you, you have your presentation up. So I can give you host so that you can present.
Okay.
I'm going to give him host, Ms. Pena?
Yes.
All right. Yep. There you go, Mr. Gonzalez.
Awesome. Okay, am I ready to begin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right, let me work some magic here. So, yeah, let's do the Google Chrome. Well, hello, everybody. How's it going? You guys good? You guys all pumped? You stoked? Maybe?
I'm ready to see.
Ready for your presentation.
Oh, all right.
I'm ready.
My name's Mr. Gonzalez. I also have another avid teacher, also a staff developer, and a two-time Teacher of the Year, Miss Holly DeLeon. If you guys do me a favor and just like a little clap in the chat or a little thumbs up or something positive, I would greatly appreciate that for my other co-presenter.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys. My name is Mr. Gonzalez. Really quick, since I guess I got some extra time. I'm an avid teacher, and this is my first year teaching a BIM class. So I got my certification for business and finance. Super excited, super stoked to be able to help my students in a different way. And the reason why I say that is, you know, teaching avid along with transition for freshmen, allowing them to take a CTE class as a freshman is like unheard of. Allowing them to get that extra credit so that they can get further along in their goals of, you know, owning a business or starting their own bake shop or, you know, going to study somewhere prestigious so they can, you know, further themselves in their goals of being in a business or, you know, some form of CTE related field. It's amazing. You know, I've been doing this. This is my 14th year teaching. I'll let Ms. DeLeon here in a second talk a little bit about herself before we start. One thing you will notice about me is I have a lot of energy. That's how I am. I like to be positive. I like to motivate. I like to go. And I hope some of that's coming across in the Zoom meeting. I don't know if, you know, it's different, right? Being in a class in front of people, it's so much easier to see that than it is just like Zoom when I don't know what you guys are like thinking or looking like or having to say because, you know, there's so many of you all and whatnot. But I'm super excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me. We'll let Ms. DeLeon talk a little bit about herself before we get started.
Hi, guys. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Holly DeLeon. I'm one of the avid teachers here at McAllen High School. I primarily teach sophomores, but I do have juniors and freshmen. Sorry, couldn't remember the name. This is my 19th year in education. I was a theater teacher before I became an avid teacher. But I hope these tools that we're going to give you today can help guide you guys to be successful.
All right, you guys ready? Woo, let's go. Okay, I'm just gonna go. All right. Wait, hold on. There it is. There it is. All right, I got this. So today's agenda in Avid, we always start with the essential question. Should be familiar to you guys, I hope. Our essential question today is, what are the possible benefits of keeping an organized schedule? Our previous presenter, I think, did a great job of answering this with her own personal experiences. So we're going to kind of delve into that a little bit more with some understanding, a little bit better understanding, and then a way to kind of keep yourself that way as far as organized is concerned. So we're going to define time management. We're going to talk about what's your time management style. We're also going to mention time management techniques like recording your schedule. We're going to make a time wheel. We'll send you that link here in a little bit when we get to it. And then we also are going to look at planners and agendas. How does this affect us with distance learning? Prioritize a to-do list, batch similar tasks, and then of course the ever important block out social media. I know, I'm just the messenger. Don't hurt me, all right? I'm just saying, okay? Don't hurt me, please. All right. Ms. Delon?
All right, so what exactly is time management? Well, the definition from Google is the ability to use one's time effectively or productively, especially at work. Time management is the key to efficient working. Some techniques that I've come across, and I know Mr. Gonzalez has come across as, we've taught or even in school, that type of thing, is to be intentional. Keep a to-do list. Drawing up a to-do list, I know it seems annoying, but it's so beneficial and helps you become a lot more productive. Another technique that I think is super important, and you heard this from our previous presenter, is to prioritize your tasks. What needs to be completed first? What needs to be completed second? That kind of thing. We'll get more into that in a little while. Be focused, manage your distractions. Being at home, especially with the virtual learning, there are distractions all around us. I'm distracted constantly. I have 3 kids here at the house that need help, plus my kids here in the classroom, plus my phone going off. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. So you have to manage your distractions. You have to structure, be structured, and time block your work. Well, from this time to this time, I'm going to work on this specifically, and from this time and this time, I'm going to work on this, and I hope to have this much done by the time I'm completed. And then be self-aware. Track your time. That is so important. Tracking your time. I cannot reiterate that enough. Next slide.
Yes, 1 second. Got it.
So what is your time management style? Some of us are like, well, this is how I work. This is how I work. Everybody has their own management style. So let's see, what are you? The first one we have is the multitasker. People that you may know that are multitasker: John F. Kennedy, who's president, Charlie Brown, famous cartoon, right? Amelia Earhart, and Lucille Ball, who is a very famous actress. If you are a multitasker, you do other things while you're doing things right now while I'm speaking. You have control over your own schedule. You can switch it up to keep school and life interesting. You often underestimate how long it takes to complete a task, and you'd like to get items on the to-do list done right now, but you end up usually waiting until the last minute. That's the multitasker.
Ready?
Do we have any multitaskers in the room? Yes. Oh, look at that. Yes.
I'm in a mock trial meeting while I'm in this meeting.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Yeah, me too. You can hear it in the background.
Wow, I'm impressed right now. All right,
Yes,
next
yes,
slide.
teachers.
50% of the time, Logan, I like that response. 50% of the time. Go ahead, next one.
Oops, hold on. There you go, I got it.
The early bird. Famous early birds are people like George Washington, Queen Victoria, and Santa Claus. So these people added this exercise to their do list. When they get an assignment, they immediately identify all the tasks involved and plan their time accordingly. When planning or working on projects and portfolios, they prefer to work on one subject and project at a time. And they're usually one of the first people to arrive for class or social events, and they like being on time. They also stressed when other people are late or when something forces them to be late. Any early birds in the room? Good. Oh, quite a few.
I'm an early bird.
You're an early bird.
Yeah, because like, for example, like if we have an appointment, like sometimes like it stresses me out because like I want to be like on time. So I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna be late, or like Or like, are we gonna be there on time?
Let me guess. And your parents are super like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it, right?
Oh my God, yes. That's the only one that I can relate to is the very last one. Other than that, no, I'm not.
I understand.
I don't even wake up early.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Okay. Oh, did I get it?
The next type of manager we have is the helper. Think about like Oprah Winfrey, Mozart, Martin Luther King, and Mother Teresa. These are all people that love to help. People who are the helpers, they probably sent this post to friends who also needed time management help, right? They remind their friends about fun events and decide if they're going based on their friends' interests. And sometimes they fall behind on work because they're too busy helping a friend or a family member. They find it very, very hard to say no. Do we have any helpers in the room? Wow, lots of helpers.
Nice.
Not a helper, Gabrielle. Yeah. Okay, good.
Ready?
Yes, I love that. Yes, me too. That's hilarious. Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez. And our last one is the deliberator. Famous deliberators are Sherlock Holmes, Quincy Jones, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Moses. The deliberator considers what to learn from this exercise to advance the next assignment, sees the whole picture and the small parts of the situation, excels at breaking down large projects into individual tasks according to their priority, and likes to make decisions based on facts. They want time to review all information needed in any given task. Gets stressed when someone else imposes a deadline that requires them to rush. Do we have any deliberators in the room? I don't know. Alejandro. Logan? Okay. Yeah. Quick question. Does anybody feel like they're a mixture of all four of these? Because I relate to all four of them. Yeah. There are some things that I'm going to be the early bird on. Some things that I'm going to be the deliberator. Some things when I'm what's the first one? I forgot.
I got you.
A multitasker.
Multitasker. Yep.
Yes. I mean, yes, depends on your mood. That's absolutely right. Mood does play a really big part in time management. If you're not feeling it, nothing's going to get done, right? So you could relate to two of these. One of them, you could relate to all four. I feel like I relate to all four. I don't know about you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Definitely, I would kind of lead more towards the early bird for me. I definitely stress out when things don't go as planned or on time. Definitely stress out.
Yeah. So these are just some ideas to help kind of see where you are and how you can deal with your time manager. I hope this kind of opened your eyes to show you that it's okay to be the way you are. But now, how are you going to use that to your benefit? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Delgado. So time management technique that we do with our freshmen, we didn't get to this year because of all the stuff going on, but we have in the last several years, and we created a digital version of this for you, but you can still make this by hand on your own if you feel more comfortable that way, just because it's easier to write than it is to manipulate stuff, but up to you. Prioritize your time. So link for your schedule, I'll put that here in a second. This allows you to see where your time is spent throughout the day. So basically you write down everything, you list everything down from 12 in the AM all the way through your day until 12 PM. So once you list everything, then it's going to look like this, what you see on your screen. Okay, so where do you spend most of your time during the day? What changes should you make? You need to prioritize, right? You've heard this word several times in the last presentation and this presentation. So maybe you like to start with the fastest or maybe the easiest. It's just up to you, right? But prioritize is huge, because once you get one thing done, you're able to do the next. The one thing I tell my students that become overwhelmed with all the amount of work, right? Especially this year, right? Y'all have like DCAs, y'all have like an assignment due every day, something like that. Okay, so the easiest way to get something done is one thing at a time, right? You do one thing, you focus on one thing, you take care of that one thing. Well, guess what? Now you have time to do the next thing. If all you do is sit and think about all the things you have to do, well, guess what? You're never going to do any of them. And it's really funny, in my grad classes that I'm taking, one of the professors was like, how do you eat an elephant? And we're like, what? Eat an elephant? Why would you want to eat an elephant, sir? We're grown adults, right? It's a saying. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time, right? Because elephant's so huge, the way you finish it is just one bite at a time. That's all you worry about, right? So you worry about one thing at a time. Know what's important: tests, projects, presentations, 60% of your grade. And then, of course, your attendance for every class, right? It's super important to take care of your attendance. So I'm going to see if I can maybe exit this really quick so I can open up the chat. And
I can probably.
There it is. There's the chat.
Medium rare. That's how they eat an elephant, medium rare, or in a giant barbecue.
That sounds delicious.
Just, I think a lot of what this does as he's getting this ready is it opens your eyes so you can see where your time is going. Where do you spend most of your time, especially now that we're at home, most of us. And so I have a lot of students say, well, some of us are working, some of us had to go to work, and, they get frustrated, like, I don't have time to complete my work. What do I do? And so you need you need to see where your time is going and make adjustments according to what you see on paper.
One last thing before I move on, guys. Again, like in my graduate classes, they made us do this. So don't think that this, like, obviously we didn't color it as like much as this is, right? But we still did this activity in a graduate school like class. You're talking about adults, right? We already have a degree, working on another one, and we're still finding ways just like this to prioritize, to manage our time, to take time in there for mental health, right? We talked about in the last presentation. It was super, super amazing to hear that, because your mental health is really important, okay? So I'll talk about that link I just gave you here in a little bit. Let me finish the presentation first. If I can click on it, there it goes. Okay, so time management techniques. Keep a planner. What? A planner? An agenda? What? I have to write things down? Yes, please write things down. Whether it's digital or it's on paper. Yes, I know 2020 is crazy. Everything changes last minute, but you definitely need to have important stuff written down, okay? So write all your important dates down, the end, the beginning of the 6 weeks, progress reports, projects, the date it's assigned, the day it ends, like when it's due, any tests you have, the date it's assigned, so you know when you have to study. Like, I need to study this week for the test on Friday, or I need to study these couple of days for the test on Wednesday, right? Assignments, extracurricular, which is really important for you guys because you all have a lot of extracurriculars. Like, we have people doing 2 meetings at the same time. Like, that's a lot. Like, that's awesome, but that's a lot. So be sure you schedule all that stuff down: practices, meetings, competitions, and birthdays, right? You got to be able to celebrate too. Most importantly is not just writing it down, but interacting with it, because, I get a lot of students that'll say, well, sir, yeah, I start, but then I never go back and look. Well, a habit takes 21 days. So if you look at that and interact with it 21 days straight, it'll become a part of you. So as you go through, be sure you highlight or strike through items that you've completed, so that when you go back and interact with it, you know exactly what you're still missing, what you've accomplished, and where you're going to go, like where you're going to be next, okay?
So can I add something to that, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, please.
So if you notice on the pictures here, things are highlighted. These are important days. So if you look at the yellow, that tells me, this is a picture of my planner, that tells me that that is a holiday. And then whatever's highlighted in pink or purple, I know that those are grades. Anything that is blue is like students coming to school or students coming back to school. and things like that. That's how I know, just by looking at it. Oh, I got progress reports this week. I got to make sure I have grades done. So choosing colors, making sure you use the same colors throughout. Those of you that have had our Avid classes before, this is something we do with you in class, even transition last year. We had you, yes, good. We have you color code. That helps a lot. When you use the same colors over and over again, your mind remembers.
Awesome, thank you. Hope you guys use something similar. Definitely hope you guys use something similar. Last slide, and then I'll go over the wheel. There we go. Is again, please don't hurt me. I'm just the messenger. Time management techniques. Turn off social media notifications when working. These are a big distraction, and they take hours away from your work time, even your sleep time, which is super vital to you being effective the next day. If you don't sleep, you're going to feel it that day. You're going to feel it the next day, right? So turn that stuff off, mute your notifications, whatever you have to do to get in whatever work or whatever sleep or whatever you have to get done. It is super important, because you could be there watching TikToks and laughing for hours, right? But you might have something to do. So again, very vital that you don't just leave it to chance. Don't just leave it to chance or willpower alone, help yourself, basically. That's it for this presentation. Let me show you the link, the wheel itself. I'm not sure if I have it here, if I have to click on it myself. Oh, here it is. Okay, perfect. Okay, so again, recording your day from 12 a.m. midnight to 11 p.m. Place your hours in the wheel and see where your time goes throughout the day. So in the first or the second slide, really, you're going to list everything you do from AM to PM, every single thing. When you're in class, that's what you're going to write. I'm in class. Okay. What do you do right after school? What are you doing later in the evening? What are you doing as far as like, what's your sleep amount of time? And once you complete this, the most important part is your visual. So of course, this you can type, you can edit, you can move the lines, as you can tell, not exactly perfect in the middle, but you can move the lines to give yourself a bigger chunk of time. You can delete them for stuff that's like a 2 hour or 2.5 hour. You can delete like one and then slide the other one over 30 minutes and then just type in what exactly you're doing. If you want to add pictures to it, if you want to add color to it, even better. And then again, if this isn't for you, you don't like, messing with all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of stuff in there to mess with, then write it down. Make your wheel on paper, kind of like what we did in my graduate class. So I'm gonna go ahead and escape on that. That's pretty much how this works. Like I said, you can just click and then edit, click and delete, click and add. You can add pictures, colors, all that kind of fun stuff. Let me stop sharing. There we go. Okay, so I stopped sharing. That's my presentation. And do I need to switch something over? I know I have time for questions, but do I need to switch something over or not really?
I think the host.
The host? Okay.
Yeah, can you give it back to me and then we'll work on that.
Yes, let's wait 1 second.
Are there any questions about this? Anything that we can, dig a little deeper on? I saw some earlier about using a planner and agenda. Let us know. Ask us questions. That's what we're here for. I use mine. As you can see, mine's pretty much filled. I even have little notes on the side. I scratch stuff out. That's how I stay on top of everything. Even now, I feel like now there's even more to do. So writing it out, when you write something, you're more likely to remember it. There are studies that prove that, than just seeing it once and letting it go. So setting reminders on your phone can help. Yes.
I do that a lot. I like digital, personally. I know last year I made, digital calendar is amazing. Last year I made my students set alarms on their phone to tell them to check their homework folder, to tell them to check their binder, to tell them to, just set reminders for yourself every day. That's what I do.
Google
It
Calendar saves.
does.
Yes.
It does save lives.
And even on there, you can go in and edit that. Your assignments automatically from Google Classroom go in there. So you can go in and edit it and add color and all kinds of stuff. And when you interact with it, you're more likely to remember because you're interacting with it.
All right, 21 days, guys. That makes a habit. Straight. Any other questions? Love the interaction. You guys have been amazing. Love it. I didn't get to see all the chat, obviously, because I was presenting, but based on Ms. DeLeon's reactions, I could tell. It's amazing. Questions, guys? Pretty straightforward.
How about we give a virtual round of applause for Ms. De Leon and Mr. Gonzalez. Great presentation.
And we're here, guys. If you need anything, let us know. We're here to help.
Most definitely here to help. Man, you guys are too awesome. All right, hold on real quick. Before I go, I got to do a little, it's not quite a celebration, but I treat it as a celebration. I'm gonna do one for you guys, all right? All right, it's called Two Claps and a Ric Flair. It's a callback, but I use it as a celebration. So this is for you guys because you guys are super amazing. Okay, it goes a little something like this, and don't mind me. I don't mind being weird. All right, so Two Claps and a Ric Flair. It's for you guys. All right, ready? Little Ric Flair, if you guys know who that is. So Two Claps and a Ric Flair for you. Appreciate you guys.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Very good advice.
Thank you,
So
guys.
if there are any more questions, we do have a break scheduled right now. So we're gonna go ahead and take that break. It's from 11 to 11:15. So make sure to be back here at 11:15 for our next presentation. Feel free to stay on the call. Just kind of have Zoom running in the background. And we're all gonna turn our cameras off and be muted for about 15 minutes. So we'll be back at 11:15.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
They're entering. We're on a break right now, and we'll be back at 11:15.
Hi, Ms. Alanis, are you in the room?
Hi, yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Josue, you're going to give her host capabilities so she can share her screen when we're ready to start.
Yes, let me go ahead and find her. Can you speak again, please? Ms. Alanis, make this to confirm.
I'm sorry?
I was just wanting you to speak again so I can give you the host privilege.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Good, you're good. There you go. If you have host privileges, you should be able to present right after.
Thank you.
And for whoever's back, I guess in the chat, put something you've learned so far or something that you've liked. And also make sure to do the check-in for Miss Pena, and we'll try to get that figured out right now. About the code. Manage your time better. Yeah, that's I've had that problem as well. I mean, I keep a planner now, but it took me 2 years to figure that out. So hopefully y'all can pick it up. Yep, setting priorities. It's definitely important. Definitely one of the most important, I think, if not the most important thing to do.
Something that I've learned is that like every person has like their way like to finish like their stuff, or like you never know like if you're gonna like it or not. It's best if you try it, and if you don't like it, then try other things because you never know.
I think like that's the important part of being a teenager is like getting to know like your identity, like what you like to do, what you don't like to do, because like this will transfer over to your adulthood, and like if you don't learn now, you're maybe at risk of not knowing how to do it in the future when you have a job, when when you're working tougher hours, because yeah, school can be considered like a job. You go 8 to 5, 8 to 4, depends, right? Maybe you stay after school to compete or do any extracurricular activities, that makes longer. So those extracurriculars balance. It's important to balance. Maria did a really good job with that, and also Mr. Leo and Mr. Gonzalez's presentation was really good about knowing who you are, because there are 4 different the multitasker, the deliberator, all those you identify as, and you get to know who you really are. So anyone else tips on making my planner look better? I'm not a very colorful person, so I just write it in and hope for the best. And Diana Cardenas said how the engineering process is implemented into other clubs. Yeah, I mean, not all the steps are going to be implemented, right? But we could definitely apply some of them, like identifying the problem, finding a solution. That's most like the message of that engineering process is finding the solution, because I mean, an engineer, I can tell you, finding a solution, finding what's most efficient is important as well. Anything else y'all have learned? Feel free to mic on or just type in the chat. We're open to it, So we have a few more presentations scheduled for, I was gonna say this afternoon, but it's technically still morning. And then we're gonna close. I would like to remind you that there are door prizes at the end, which we will announce in the Google Classroom after the event. So just keep paying attention. That's the only hint I'll give you. Keep paying attention, be engaging, because we do have some door prizes to give out as well.
Have you let them know what a cool door prize they might earn?
Do you want to keep it a mystery, or do you want to say it?
It's really neat. I wouldn't mind having another one.
I think we should be quiet. Build up the
It can help you with your homework.
It's a very useful.
guessing.
Very useful thing. I know one of my friends that has one, and he loves it. So to play. No, we're not that rich. Yeah, we're not that rich. We can't give away a PS5. No new iPhone. Melissa Mora, maybe. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no either. Yes, it is one of those. Echo dot. Yes. Money. Oh yeah, it's on the Google Classroom. Yeah, if you go on the Google Classroom and read the assignment, it is on there. 4 echo dots. We're giving it a 4. So 3 of them will be given away for something that we're gonna do later on, and then 1 of them will be given away randomly. So it's based off that Google form. But I believe it is time for our next presentation. Miss Alanis, are you ready?
Hi. Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
And share my screen. All right. Let's see. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Evelyn Alanis. I'm one of the professional counselors here with McAllen ISD, and I came to talk to you about mental health and how we can implement coping skills so that we can remain mentally healthy, especially during these really difficult times, a pandemic. So first of all, let's define mental health. It's a person's emotional, physical, and psychological well-being. And it's so important because our mental health is going to affect how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also is going to help determine how we handle stressful situations, how we relate to other people, and ultimately how we make choices. So what can we do to promote our mental health, especially during a pandemic? First of all, the first coping skill that I want to talk about is staying connected. There are so many ways that we can stay connected even while we're socially distancing, right? So a few of the options that I have written here, and there's so many more other ones, but we can always, if you're doing virtual learning, you can participate in class when you can. And if you are going to in-person school already, then just participating in class, being present. You can always schedule video calls with family and friends. That's so important. Maybe every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, you're going to talk to your best friend. And doing acts of kindness is also a really great way to stay connected with other people. It just makes us feel better when we are kind to other people. And so a lot of different ways that we can do acts of kindness is by doing our chores at home, or by writing a letter and sending it to a friend, a family member, or even to someone we live in the house with. We can always write a letter to them, and that's really, really sweet, and it's a really great act of kindness. You can also write a good morning text to your best friend every morning, or send them a positive quote. All of those things count as acts of kindness, right? You can also join or create an online book club, which is similar to watching a TV show with a friend. Like, you can be in your own home watching a Netflix show, and it's something that you discuss, or you can read the same book and you can discuss it with them. And that's a really great way to stay connected with people. Another coping skill is creating a routine. Making a routine can reduce stress, right? We encounter stress every day in our lives, whether, I lost my hairbrush, or I can't find my keys, whatever it is, those little things all add stress. And so by creating a routine, we can help reduce our stress. And when I say routine, I don't mean like, schedule in every minute of your day. I usually prefer like skeleton routines, right? And I have an example of a skeleton routine. So like every morning, I'm usually going to eat breakfast. I'm not going to set a time for it. Just whenever I wake up, I'm going to log into my classroom or check my email, whatever it is that you do in the morning. And then in the afternoon, after school, I'm going to, be active, do something that may be considered exercise, or just where I'm like moving my body. I'm going to clean, eat lunch, or eat like a snack. And then for evening, I'm going to do my homework, get back like studies. I'm going to do a fun activity if I like to paint or, you know, create something, have dinner, and then do like my bedtime routine where I'm going to shower, brush my teeth, and read a book or do something relaxing, right? And so, and it's going to look similar to this most days. It doesn't have to be exactly the way it's written, but, you know, just kind of having like a skeleton routine, right? Just something that we can kind of go by off by every day. And this is going to help reduce, you know, stress. Another one that's so important is getting good sleep. A lot of the times we underestimate the importance of sleep. I used to work with a psychiatrist who, before he would prescribe medication, he would wait a week or two, have the individual get a good like routine sleep schedule. And then once they had a good routine schedule down, we would see what their, you know, what their issues were. And then he would prescribe medication. Because, you know, not getting good sleep can really affect how we do, you know, you know, if I don't get good sleep, we're going to be irritable. We're getting things that usually don't annoy us are going to annoy us. We're not going to think as sharply. We're going to be kind of groggy. And so a good night's sleep usually comes at night, right? Well, in the night when the day is darkest. So if you go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up around the same time every day, that's, you know, eventually you're going to get to a good night's sleep. And I know there's like issues where, you know, some people just have a harder time sleeping, and that's okay. There's things that we can do to help get a good night's sleep. And we'll talk a little bit about those skills in a little bit. But it's so important. And, you know, if that means you have to leave your phone in the kitchen or in another room, you know, it's important that you do that, because sometimes our phones can get in the way of a good night's sleep, right? We're scrolling through it and, you know, next thing we know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And so putting that aside, doing some deep breathing exercises, you can listen to relaxing music, just make sure you're not seeing the light on your screen. That's really important to help get a good night's sleep. And the fourth one is getting your body moving. Most people will say exercise. I don't like saying exercise because it's going to look different for everyone, right? Some people love to exercise. That's great. Some people don't. But even if you don't, it's important that we move our body. And that's going to help us, you know, be able to cope well with the stresses of every day, and especially during this pandemic. Your body moving will be different for everyone. It could include like doing my chores, mopping the floor, or sweeping, right? That could count as moving my body. Gardening, or, you know, if I like to run, you can go run. Or if you like yoga, it's going to look different for everyone, but it's important that you do it. It helps boost our self-esteem when we're moving. And again, it kind of helps like get blood running to our brain. And so we can think a little more clearly. And so other great techniques or other great things that we can do to help promote our mental health is practicing deep breathing exercises. Deep breathing is one of the best ways to lower stress in our body. When we do deep breathing and our body relaxes, it sends signals to our brain to relax and to calm down, right? And so deep breathing, again, there's so many different ways to deep breathe. Most and the best one would be to like breathe into our stomach. Like you can put one hand on your tummy and one on your chest, and make sure that the hand that's moving is the one that's on your tummy. And that's when you're taking a deep breath. It takes less energy to move tissue and like, you know, your stomach and your diaphragm than to move like a whole bone. And so to take a deep breath, we want to move the tissue. We can fill it up. We can fill our lungs more when we do that. And the best time to do it is when you're feeling really anxious, right? A lot of the times during this pandemic, that's something that I've heard a lot. You know, these feelings of worry and anxiety and feeling nervous for our future or anything that could be going on. Just, you know, it's really important that we practice deep breathing so that we can help manage those emotions, especially when, you know, we don't need to feel that anxiety. And so deep breathing is really important. I always recommend, it's like my number one coping skill that I recommend if you're seeing me as your therapist. Another one that's a really great and people kind of don't pay attention to it much is getting sunlight. Sunlight synthesizes vitamin D in our body, and the experts believe that this is a mood elevator. It makes us feel better. And so you don't have to go outside, especially in South Texas weather. It can get really hot, right? As long as you are getting sunlight like through a window, it's just so important that we get that sunlight 15 to 20 minutes a day, and that's it. And that can help really change our mood and make us feel, more energized and just better. Number 7 is getting a balanced meal. And I always like to point out that balanced meals is not just always healthy, right? It's good to eat healthy food, but it's okay to eat our Whataburger or our pizza, whatever not healthy, what people consider not healthy food is. Eat that, enjoy it. Just make sure you're also eating your veggies, because our nutrition will also play a huge role in how we feel, right? If we're only eating junk food, or if we're not eating at all, we're going to feel sluggish and slow, and we're not going to want to do anything, and our mood's just going to be down, and then we're not going to use the coping skills, and we're not going to do the things we want. And so then it's this negative cycle of unhealthy, right? And it affects our mental health. And so having a balanced meal is very important. Eating your breakfast, your morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, and if you're still hungry, having like a late night snack. And that it's really important that we fuel our body. The 8th coping skill that I have on here is mindful meditation, or just being mindful. Mindfulness can translate to awareness. So just being aware of your emotions, your physical, like if you're having any pains or how you're feeling physically, and your environment all at once. A lot of the times, in our society, it's like a go, go, go type of mentality, and which is great to get things done, but then we forget like our body and our mental health. And so just taking a break, deep breathing, and being aware of what's going on around us is really important. And meditation falls under mindfulness, right? And there's so many ways that you can practice meditation. You can always just YouTube mindful meditation for anxiety, or mindful meditation for sleep, whatever it is that you want to target, or just mindful meditation. And there's like so many YouTube videos that you can watch that can help you start that practice. If you're a religious or a spiritual person, prayer is also a great way, and it helps with our anxiety. And if we're struggling with depression or sadness, it's a really great way to help cope with those negative or hard feelings and emotions. And number 9, temperature. This is another one of my favorites to recommend, especially if you struggle with like anxious thoughts or worries and nervousness. Using temperature is a really great way to help manage our emotions. If you're feeling like panicky, I always recommend to like grab like an ice pack, put it over your eyes or like in the back of your neck, and that helps your heart rate slow down. And that sends signals to your brain that it's okay to calm down. And so I really love to use this coping skill because it uses our biology. It's going to work 100% of the time. And other ways that you can use temperature to help manage your emotions and help with stress is, winter's coming. And so just going outside and getting like a gust of wind can be really helpful for our emotions. If you're angry, irritated, or feeling anxious, right? Just kind of getting that change of environment can be really helpful. Another thing that I recommend, if you can't go outside, or you're not feeling too horrible, but you're getting up there, just stick your face in the refrigerator or in the freezer. That can be helpful too. Taking a cool shower, or even a warm shower or a warm bubble bath. Those are really great ways to use temperature to help manage our emotions and to help cope with stress, right? Number 10 is positive affirmations. And I used to be a skeptic about these, but it's amazing how a positive quote or positive words can really play a role in how we feel and how it can change our mood if we're feeling down to, just feeling even just a little bit better. So positive words can really go a long way. The way that I always recommend this one usually is writing like sticky notes or like notes and posting them on your wall or by your door, or just like areas that you see often. If the refrigerator, your door when you're going to walk out of your room, on your phone, you can put quotes, or on your on your devices, and it can really change how we feel. it can make us feel a little better. We spend so much time, you know, talking to ourselves in our brain, being critical and saying negative things. Oh, I'm so stupid for doing that. Oh, you know, it's usually negative. And so when we, you know, kind of read something positive or tell ourselves something positive, it can really, you know, our brain's like, whoa, what just happened? And so it can really change how we're feeling and elevate our mood to feel better. And again, to cope with stress much, much better. And so this is a positive quote that I really like, and I think it's really helpful, especially during these times, is to be gentle with yourself. We're all doing the best we can, right? No one's ever lived through a pandemic, you know, not in our times right now. And so being gentle with yourself, because we're all just doing the best we can. Be gentle with others also. So does anyone have any questions or anything that you want to talk about?
Feel free to mic on or post your questions in the chat. I know for one, I like the part that you said about the temperature and the ice pack. I had never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in our biology. There's this, I don't really know, it's been a long time since I learned this, but there's a mechanism in our body called the diver's response. So like when rescue divers jump into freezing cold waters, like our blood slows down, right? And so then our heart rate slows down so that we can survive longer those freezing temperatures. And so it's kind of, by putting ice on our eyes and the back of our neck, it kind of triggers that response as if we were rescue diving. And so, you know, it's going to work 100% of the time.
Do any of you all have those of you who are students or maybe our hosts, have any other coping skills or that you all do? I know coloring is a big deal. I color all the time. I do not color in the lines, and it's okay. So how about you drop in the chat maybe some things that you do that maybe weren't mentioned or that were mentioned?
Something that one of my doctors told me was when you, you know, are trying to cope, that something that they learned is to, you know, breathe with one of them, but breathe, and then to take your mind off of it, try to find 3 things in the area that you're in that are the same color. So like find 3 things that are blue or, you know, whatever.
Yes, that's also one of my favorite ones. I didn't include it on this one, but it's called grounding. That one's called grounding, and we can use all our 5 senses to kind of ground ourselves into the space we're in, right? And that one would be sight, right? What are all the blue things that I can see in there? What are all the red things? And we can also use our other senses. What are the things that I feel? What can I touch? What can I hear? What are the 3 things that I'm hearing? 3 things that I can taste. All of those, it can be really helpful to kind of bring us back into the moment, right? Because when we're preoccupied with other thoughts, a lot of the times it can be negative and it can make us feel down. And so in order to kind of pull away from that is to focus on, you know, one of those things. One of the ways that I like to do that coping skill is playing I Spy, right? A lot of the times we don't remember like to do those coping skills. And so if you see that your friend is struggling, or if you're struggling, you can ask, hey, can we play I Spy? And, you know, they'll say, I spy something blue. And then you're kind of already focusing on the room, right? Everything that's blue, everything, you know, and that can be really, really helpful. So thank you for sharing that.
And like I also play with my dog because like I know like animals or like people who own pets, like the pets, like dogs or cats, like they feel like what their owner feels.
Yes, dogs, pets are just a really, really wonderful way to help with our emotions. they're our best friends. They're going to love us unconditionally, and they're going to sit there with you and cry. They're going to sit with you and, you know, be happy. So whatever you're feeling, they're always going to help you feel better.
I feel like I can testify with these coping mechanisms because, well, my dad's a psychologist too, and he always talks about how mindfulness, meditation, nutrition, sleeping, especially sleeping, is such a good way for relieving stress, I guess. Looking at the bigger picture, and also focusing on like your strengths. I feel like sometimes we just focus on everything that's wrong, and we don't take in consideration the things that we've done right. So by doing it, you can realize that, hey, I'm not so much in trouble after all. Like, I've done all these good things. I need to reward myself too.
Exactly. That's wonderful. And so important that we do that. And it takes practice, right? The first time you try these coping skills, they might not feel normal or easy to do, but the more we practice them, the easier they get, right? And they start becoming habits. And so instead of having negative habits, we're creating these positive habits, right? Learning how to talk to ourselves positively, learning to remember the good parts of our lives, learning to take deep breaths when we're feeling anxious or worried or nervous. And those are all just, and I'm reading some of the coping skills that you guys are mentioning in the chat, and those are all absolutely wonderful. And I want you to keep doing that.
Yeah, no, I just want to add to that. So for my team, what I do is, since we meet every week, what I do is like at the end of everything, when we're done talking about organizing, when we're talking about planning, when we're done with all that, we just talk. We just like, hey, how's your week going? Hey, how are you doing? And I don't know if other teams do this, but I feel like that's very important because sometimes someone needs it. Someone needs it and you don't even know it. And I feel that talking with your team helps a lot, and I feel like it's something we should do because maybe they don't have somebody else to rely on, but they have the team, and if someone brings it up, maybe they're more willing and it'll help them a lot more, especially coming from people they already talked to, who they're used to working with. So I recommend that for any other teams.
That's wonderful. Yes, and I agree 100%.
Now, Ms. Alanis, if any of the students have any further questions or they feel that they need to talk, is there a specific number or a contact that they can go to?
Is Adrian on the line?
Hi, Diana. Thank you, Evelyn. Yes. My name is Adrian Garza. I'm the program manager for the Family Achievement Program. And they can call 956-926-4813. And I'll put it down really quick on the chat. Okay, and now we're available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But if at any point you feel like you need additional assistance and there's nobody to talk to, I'm going to put another number on the chat that you can call, and that number is available 24/7. Okay, in this case, if you feel like you have a friend that might need help, or if you feel like yourself you just want to talk to somebody, then this is the number to call, and it's 24 hours. And I'll just annotate it by putting 24/7 call number. Okay, those are the two numbers you can contact. If you have questions for Evelyn Alanis, of course, after this, you can always call that number, or you can always contact Diana Peña and filter your questions through her. And then, of course, if you feel like you have no more urgent need, the number to call is 877-289-7199, and that number is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Good. Thank you very much. I don't think unless anyone else has a question in the chat. I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for having me, and I hope it helped.
Thank you. Miss Alanis, could you please give me back host privileges?
Yes.
And then we will get started on our next presentation. And that's going to be Mr. Ethan. Welcome.
Hi guys, my name is Ethan. We'll be talking to you guys about how to keep your members motivated. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'm a junior in McAllen High School, and this is my 5th year in robotics. Next slide, please. Now, I know a lot of you know the definition for motivation, but I'd still like to go over it again. So motivation is an example of an external force or an internal force that can drive an individual. An example of an external force would be like your parents forcing you to clean your room and playing a sport for an award. But an internal force would be like playing the sport for satisfaction of it and not the award. Personally, for me, I joined robotics because of a combination of internal and external forces. I joined because of what it could do for me and the scholarships that it would help me. It would help me later on in life, and it would help me stand out on my resume. But I really stayed because the satisfaction of designing a robot and then building it from scratch and then seeing it compete on the field just really like kept me motivated. And then, you know, I want to ask you guys a question. Feel free to mic on or put in the chat. What drives you guys to just continue on in your CTSO clubs or just homework and life in general? College dreams. I'm seeing a lot of like future and family, and I think those are all really great motivational factors for all of you. Next slide, please. Why is motivation important? Can't we just like push through work without motivation and just keep on like working through it all? First of all, that's a terrible way to work. And trust me, I know I've done this exact same thing. Freshman, sophomore year of robotics, I really, near the end of it, I kind of just lost the motivation to keep on working. And that's just a terrible way to work. And honestly, I should have taken a break to try to motivate myself again. My workflow and productivity dropped, and it was terrible. I was also irritated all the time, and I wasn't having fun anymore doing the things that I wanted to do. Second, I've also been told that performance is a combination of a person's ability and their motivation. Motivation can have more productivity, creates less stress, more creativity, more trust, more professionalism, higher morale. Really, it just does everything. Motivation really helps out. these are only 4 tips of some of the things that you can do to motivate your really motivate your members. Next slide, please. Getting to know your team, setting realistic goals and keeping promises, and communicating constantly. Next slide, please. Getting to know your team. Everyone is different, and every one of your members is different. Getting to know their likes and dislikes and their personalities really will motivate them, because you won't give them tasks that they're not suited for, that they might really dislike. Set realistic goals. We can't kid ourselves here. Sometimes goals really are out of our reach. And if you give a goal that is way out of reach of a person, it really just demoralizes each of your team members, and it decreases performance overall. Next slide, please. Keep promises. Try to keep your promises. Try to keep promises. Try not to make promises that you can't hold up or that you know will fall through. Don't just give like fake promises to keep them working, because in the end, you know that they're going to be really demoralized and really affect the overall quality of something. Do try to hold the promise and make it true in the end. And yeah, I know you guys can see this, but I'm like really nervous for all of this. Communicate constantly. Really do keep on talking with your team. Make sure you inform them of everything, really. Keep them informed of what's taking place and ask them for feedback. This really can motivate them. I know that communication is really important for me, because then I can't make my schedule. So yeah. Thank you, Lily. That's the end for me. Yeah.
All right.
We played freshman year. Sorry, freshman year, to really motivate everyone, get them to know each other. We could play Ninja. If you guys know what the game is, it was really fun. So it really got everyone together, team bonding.
I think all the points you've made are pretty important. And Ethan, I've known you since middle school. I've seen you grow, so I just want to say good job, and yeah, it's important to keep your members motivated. I think we can go back and Ethan can, like he said, he gave a little anecdote about how you lose motivation and you don't want to do things anymore. I think everybody, or mostly everybody, goes through this. I could say I went through it as well my sophomore year. I really didn't feel like trying anymore. I didn't really feel like it, but I feel like Ethan and I could both say that, I think we're glad we're still here, because we've been able to accomplish so many things. Ethan's team last year got qualified to the World Championship in Houston, Texas, and that's a great accomplishment for him. They won the Inspire Award, so I just want to give you major props for that, and good job, because yes, I know you said you're nervous, but you've done a great job, and you're gonna keep doing it, and I hope the best for you. And Jason, would you like to touch up on the Inspire Award or what he has accomplished a little bit?
Sure. Sorry about that. The Inspire Award is the signature award given out every year from First Robotics, and every year we are allowed to advance one team to the state or world championship on behalf of the Inspire Award winner. A little bit about the Inspire Award. It is a culmination of several things, not just robot performance, but it includes the team spirit, engineering notebook, some marketing, outreach activities, paying it forward, fundraising, and several other criteria. And we were proud that McAllen High School Robotics last year was the winner of the Inspire Award. So McAllen High School Robotics is doing a lot of great things in robotics, and we are very proud of them.
For sure. Does anyone have any questions or any anecdotes they'd like to share with us? Anything that you guys have encountered while doing your CTSO?
I'll share one thing. Just a little background about Impulse. That team was kind of like an experiment. We really didn't know where we wanted to go. I knew Ethan was coming in with a little bit of coding experience that he brought in from middle school. And, we had a couple of members that had a little bit of building experience from the previous year, but we didn't really know exactly where they were going to go. We knew that they were going to do something, but we didn't think it was going to be really great up until, I would say, a month in. Some of the things that team did was amazing. They were all over the place. Everyone had a certain role. And they had their conflicts like every other team does here or there. But when it came down to it, like everyone did great at what they were good at. And they were constantly pushing each other to compete with one of the other teams that we had. And they knew that, we can step it up to that level. And they kept pushing themselves, whether it was in the code or whether it was in the mechanical side or whether it was just motivating and staying together as a team. Like it was just constant. And it was just amazing for me to just watch this happen. And sometimes I just, let the reins go and watch them go. And sometimes if they had a conflict, I would just step back and watch them as they, try to like figure it out. And keeping them motivated was huge because I would always have to go in and talk to each member individually and kind of make sure that they stayed together. And one of the things that Johanna mentioned for Legacy was they were already all friends when that team was kind of formed. And with Impulse, they weren't. They knew each other only from within the club. So to watch a bunch of strangers pretty much come in and perform as well as they did, it was amazing because that year they ended up being winning alliance at their league championship. They qualified for regionals, which was in I think that year was in Austin, Texas, and they ranked third in their division. And these are compared to some of the best teams in the world, in my opinion, because those Austin teams and Dallas, they're amazing teams, and they ranked third. So they went from being strangers to doing that, and it took a lot of communicating and motivating. And yeah, there was a lot of conflict as well, but I think that was a part of the recipe as well, because when you come out of the conflict, when you come out of the trenches of all of that almost animosity in a way, you can do great things. And you see it happen all over the news. You see it happen all the time. And I kind of got to watch that in person. And the rest of the robotics clubs members, they can probably agree with me. When you saw Impulse, you saw a lot of great things happen. And sure enough, last year, which was the second year of Impulse, they took what they already had and they just went up to the next level. And they eventually, they had the recipe and they knew exactly, they used engineering design to fix that, the problems that they had. And then they ended up winning Inspire Award. We lost one of our members who graduated, but a lot of the core members are still there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they end up doing this year. And of course, they have a couple of new members as well, even though it's kind of hard because of COVID and we're doing a lot of things remote. Like it's a team that I'm very passionate about, and I know that Ethan, even as a junior, he's leading this team, and they're going to go on and continue to do great things because they have a history of doing great things. So that's all I wanted to add.
No, thank you for that, Salon. Yeah, and I can definitely testify for everything you said. I saw, like I said, I saw he's in middle school. I was with him in robotics, so I've seen him grow a lot, and that's I think that should serve as motivation for all of y'all. If everyone is possible and is very capable of doing these things. Of whether you compete in HOSA, DECA, FIRST, all these skills USA, all that stuff. You should be motivated to strive to do your best, because I saw a lot of people put family in my future. And that's important because one day maybe you want to provide for your family, maybe one day you want to be something, do something big, and that should serve as motivation to like start now, start early, before you get there. You'll have a good playing field set, because it's just important to be motivated. But ending off of that, I would like to invite our next speaker. I believe it is going to be a CTE presentation. Am I correct, Ms. Peña?
Yes, you've got Mr. Mike Chuka. And Miguel, Mike, if you will speak so that we can see where you're at, so that Mr. Saldana can make you host.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
All right. Saldana, do you think you could give him host privileges, please?
All right, I got the host now. All right, I could see it. Thank you for that. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Everybody doing good? All right.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So what I'm going to ask you all to do, if you don't mind, just with your cell phones, or if you wanted to split the screen, but even with your cell phones, if you don't mind going to this link right here, joinpd.com, and this is going to be the actual code. So if you don't mind, maybe with your cell phone, you could join with your cell phone as well, so that you could be able to keep the Zoom screen. Okay. And if not, you could always just chat, do the chat as we have the conversations today. But if you don't mind just taking a quick picture of this, so I could be able to move forward. Give you about 20 seconds, 30 seconds just to go ahead and join here. And as we're waiting for you all to connect, wow, that was fast, 23 connection, 24, oh, perfect. As we're waiting for you all to connect, good afternoon. My name is Miguel Chuka. Just a quick overview about myself. I've actually I'm originally from El Paso, and I came to the University of Texas Pan American at the time when it was Texas Pan American. I was here because they offered me a full scholarship, so I said, let's go ahead and go to UT Pan American. And I actually ran there for 3 years, and after 3 years, I actually met a lovely person, my wife, and then I ended up getting married, and I stayed in the Valley, and I love the Valley. So that's pretty much a little bit about myself. I was a teacher for 7 years, and then I also got a job at Region 1. But at the same time, during that time, for the last 20 years, I've actually been a financial advisor. I've been actually helping a lot of families to be able to work with their plans and so on. So that's pretty much what I've been doing as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. Can you all see my screen, first of all? Yes? Thumbs up?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
All right, perfect. So what I'm gonna go ahead and just share with you all is, they asked me to talk a little bit about finances and just pretty much a quick finance 101. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep it very, very quick, and so that you could be able to see some of the topics as I go over some of these things. If you all have questions, by all means, let me know. I'll be glad to go ahead and work with you all and answer some of those questions maybe at the end. But when we meet with families, these are the 6 pillars of financial services. So as you start planning for your careers and your life, make sure that you start looking at all of these 6 things here. The first one, of course, if you notice here, you'll see it. It's cash flow. If you notice right here, it says earn additional income. Make sure that you try to earn income so that you could be able to do something with it. But at the same time, as you're earning income, if you notice what it says next, budget the expenses, because you could be making a lot of income, but of course, if you're losing all the, if you're losing all the money to expenses, it's not going to be a good thing. So always make sure that you look at your debt ratio. So go ahead and research that debt ratio. That's the first thing they're going to ask you when you go buy a home, for example. Then of course, the next thing, if you notice here, is managing your debt. So, you know, I just want you to know that there's good debt and there's bad debt. And I'm just going to make it real simple so you could be able to see kind of like what is the difference. If I go buy, let's say, apartments and I'm going to go rent them, that might be good debt because I'm leveraging my credit and my debt to be able to get an asset. Okay. But if I go buy a boat because I want to go fishing every single Sunday and I put it into a credit card, that could be bad debt. So make sure that you know the difference between good debt and bad debt. Okay. And the other one is, of course, emergency fund. You know, it's important that as you start your careers, always make sure that you save in case something happens. Okay. In case something happens, that's going to be very important. Because in case something happens, if you have good, you know, emergency funds, you won't have to go into bad debt. That's the main difference there. Proper protection. Make sure you protect yourself. When we say that, what if you stop working? You know, what if something happens to you? You know, what if you become disabled? Those are things that are very important as well. Build your wealth. Again, of course, proper protection, right? Build your wealth. You know, make sure that you outpace inflation. One of the things that you need to really start looking at is, you know, what is inflation and how does it hurt me? A lot of people don't actually see that, but inflation is averaging 3%. So what happens there is that the value of your dollar is going to be, different than 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And of course, make sure that you minimize taxation as well. The last one is, of course, once you build yourself an empire, make sure you take care of it so that you could be able to pass it on to your heirs. So as we talk to families, these are the 6 pillars, of course, of financial services. So we try to make sure that we talk to them about those things. Okay. Now, as I go over this, I'm also going to talk a little bit about, you know, yourself as far as what is it that you want to do? You know, what is it that you're going to be doing? Because depending on what you do throughout your lifetime, it's also going to depend as far as with your finances, right? So what I'm going to ask you is really quick, if you don't mind, give me this response here. Like, what would you like to do, okay, when you grow up? You know, what is it that you all want to do? Like, what are your goals? So if you don't mind, just type in, like, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, whatever is it that you want to do. Okay, so I'll give you about, I guess, a good, 30 seconds just to type something as far as what is it that you want to do when you grow up. Okay, let me pause here. So just go ahead and let me know what is it that you want to do. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share some of your responses so that we could be able to see here. Some of you mentioned that you're undecided, accountant, teacher, okay, so entrepreneurial, business, okay, architect, career that can buy things that I like, okay, perfect. So teacher, engineer, all right, perfect. So you have a lot of different things. We see everybody wants to be a little bit of everything, right? And I see over here in the chat room as well that you have a lot of different things. Having absolute freedom, okay, perfect, I like that. And of course, some of you haven't even made up your mind. And if that's the case, it's not a problem. I want you to, even though you haven't made up your mind, what I want you to start thinking about is, what is it that I love to do? Like, what is it that I love to do? Because if you do what you love to do throughout your lifetime, you're never going to have a job. It's always going to be what you love to do. Okay. And that makes a big difference. So now, based on what your answers and based on your responses, I want you to take a look at something here. I want you to take a look at this piece here. There's a difference, this is coming from Robert Kiyosaki. It's a difference about active income versus passive income. And based on your career, I'm gonna ask you to put the dot where you think you fall under, okay? So let me go ahead and give you an example. So if you said you wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer or whatever you said, right? So if you notice that on the left side, I'm gonna explain this really quick for you all so you could be able to see this. There's something that's called active income and there's something that's called passive income. Okay, so on the left side, you have everything that says active income, right? So what does that mean? Well, if you are employed or you have a job, for example, you need to work hard to be able to make sure that you get paid. If you don't go to work, right? If you stop working, then guess what? You don't get paid anymore. That is, you're actively working so that you could be able to make some money. Now, there's a lot of people out there that make a great living as employees, right? A good example is myself. I mean, like I mentioned to you all before, I also am an employee myself, okay? So then you could have, you could do very well in your lifetime if you become an employee, okay? Now, of course, this person though, if they stop working, if the employee stops working, that's it. There's no more money coming in, okay? Now, the other one is called the self-employed, okay? So what does the self-employed mean? Well, let me give you an example. If I am a lawyer, let's say, and I work just for myself, I own my business, right? I own my job, not necessarily my business, but I own my job. If I'm a doctor and I have my own office, my small office, then I'm self-employed. If I go and say, you know what, I'm going to, you know, for a career, I'm just going to go ahead and you know, be a doctor or a lawyer or something that is pretty much self-employed, okay? Now, even, let me give you a perfect example, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but what if you say, you know what, I want to go and mow lawns as a self-employed? You know, because I've heard that if you mow a lot of good lawns and you do a good job, maybe I could become, you know, I could get good income. Okay, so it doesn't matter, but it's just, that's what the definition is, right? A doctor, lawyer, anybody that's pretty much working on their own. The other ones on the right side, if you notice where it says passive income, that is where you have a business now, where you own a system and people are working for you, okay? So let me give you a perfect example. What if that same person that I mentioned that is mowing lawns says, you know what, I'm gonna buy about 10 of these lawn machines, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and hire 10 people, and they're going to go and talk to my contacts, and they're gonna go do the business. They're gonna go mow the lawns, and I'm just gonna manage it. So now this person that was mowing lawns, right? He has his own bigger business. He has his own business. Or the lawyer that builds a firm, or the doctor that builds many offices and gets a lot of PAs, right? So you see, that's what a business is. Or the person that has a McDonald's, or a person that has their own raspa stand, or whatever it might be. Those are big business, right? You own this, you own a system, and the people work for you. Why do we call it passive income? Well, because what if you leave and now you're on vacation somewhere? Okay, what if you're on vacation somewhere and now you leave and you're not there anymore? Well, you still get paid? The answer is yes, right? And that's why that's what it's called big business, or owning your own business. The investor, okay, I don't know if you heard of Warren Buffett, but have you heard of the investor is the person that pretty much goes and invests on something. So for example, you have $10,000 and you go and put it somewhere to work for you. Okay, if it's working for you, let's say you put it on the market or you put it somewhere for it to work for you, that's the investor. So what I would like for you all to do on this activity, I would like for you to pretty much, based on what you said you wanted to do, I want you to put your arrow to see where you feel you fall under. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds here to say, okay, well, I'm gonna be a doctor, so I'm gonna be self-employed. Or no, I'm gonna be a doctor, but I'm gonna have a lot of different offices everywhere, so I'm gonna be big business, let's say. Okay, so go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and start. So go ahead and put your circle depending on where you think you fall under. Okay, and I'm showing you all the screen. That's fine. All right. So I have a lot of you some of you that are on the employee side, some of you are in the business, some of you want to be investors, and some of you are moving it back and forth, right? You're like, oh my goodness, well, I want to do all of them. Okay, and that's the key, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you something. That's the key. You could always be an employee, right? And let's just say you're saving $100,000, you're making $100,000 a year. But what if you're saving 20,000 and that's going to the investments that you have? So now you're an investor and you're an employee. Y'all see that? So it doesn't mean that you have to be just in one of them. Or what if you're an employee and let's say, for example, you work for somebody, let's say you're doing design or something else like that, right? And you work for somebody, but now you say, you know what? I want to work for somebody for a good 5 years so that I could build that skill. But eventually I want to become self-employed. Can you do that? And the answer is yes. And then from there on, maybe you could make a business out of it. And as you're doing all of that, of course, just be aware that this one right here, ladies and gentlemen, should always be happening. You should always be saving a percentage of your income, no matter what quadrant you're at. Okay, you should always be saving, always be investing. And does it have to be in the stock market? The answer is no. There's a lot of different things you could do with your money, real estate and so on and so on. Okay, so my example, for example, for me, let me just erase this a little bit. I work here, right? I am employed. I also do this as a living, okay? Meaning that with KWS Financial Group, that's my company. I work as an employee within that company, but then we also have agents all the way from El Paso to Laredo and the Valley. So then we've also built a business now. And then of course, this one, I've always been doing this since I turned age 25. And I wish I would have been younger, but I didn't know any better, okay? I didn't know any better. Now my daughter, since she's been 10 years old, I mean, maybe 5 years old, she's always had an investment account. You know, we've always been showing her how to do that, and my other kids as well. So it becomes very important that we change those trends, right? That we change those trends as well. All right, very good. So now, has anybody ever heard of the rule of 72? I'm gonna ask you all to just put a yes or no on this one. Okay, I'm gonna ask you all to see if you've heard of the rule of 72. And let me see if you all have heard of that. No, okay, some of you have put no. Let's go ahead and put the response here, all right? So I have one person that says yes, 21 says no, okay. The faster you learn about these concepts, the better you're gonna be off when you get into your careers. Okay, the rule of 72, so what does that mean? It means pretty much compound interest. And let me go ahead and show you here. The magic of compound interest, the rule of 72. And I'm gonna make it as simple as I can on this one, because there's actually formulas. As a matter of fact, for you all, some of you probably had to learn this, the difference between compound interest versus simple interest. You probably had to do that part of your TEKS for mathematics. But if you think about it, this is pretty much what it is. The rule of 72. So this is what I'm gonna show you here. If, for example, you were to get, let's say 70, let's say 72 is always gonna be there. But depending on what your interest rate is, let's say you go and invest, let's say you become that investor that I talked about earlier. And let's say you go and invest, and let's just say that your rate of return or your interest is, let's say a good 9%, okay? Okay, so what you do is you don't divide the, so it's 9%, you take away the percentage, okay? So you just divide 72 by 9, and that's gonna take, that means that it's gonna take you that much time for your monies to be able to double, all right? So let me go ahead and explain that here. If I were to go to this example here, 72 divided by 8, if you all don't mind using your calculator, that's fine. 72 divided by 8 equals to 9. So what does that mean? Well, if I were to put, let's say, if I were to put $10,000 somewhere that it's going to pay off, or it's going to pay me an 8% interest, it's going to take 9 years. So this is years, right? It's going to take 9 years, and pardon my writing, but it's just that it's going to take 9 years. So for your monies to double. So if it's going to double, it's going to go from 10,000 to what? How much is it going to go to? Well, it's going to go from 10,000 to 20,000. That is pretty much what the rule of 72 is. So let's go ahead and see it in full-blown visual, okay? So let's just say, for example, you are now going to invest. Remember that you're an investor, right? And you're going to put your money somewhere where it's either going to average 4%, 8%, or 12%, okay? And again, some of these are just examples. This is not necessarily saying that you're gonna make 12% at all times, but so you could be able to see the difference here. So if you notice here, if you divide 72 by 4, that equals to 18, right? 72 by 8, that equals to 9. 72 by 12, that equals to 6. So if I look at this carefully here, if I were to look at the 4, so if it's 18 years, and let's just say that you were 29 years old, and you say, you know what, I listened to this guy back in the day, and now I want to invest, and I'm 29 years old. And let's say you have $10,000 in there. Well, if you're 29 years old in 18 years, if you notice, your money's going to double at age 47 to 20,000. So from 10,000, it goes to 20,000. And then 18 years later, it goes to 40,000. So by age 65, you'll have $40,000. Okay, that's okay. Not too good, right? It's okay. But what if you were to invest your monies, if you notice that the interest is only going from 4% to 8%, but now look at the difference. It's going to double every 9 years. So you put those $10,000 in there, 9 years later, 20,000. 9 years later, it's going to be at 40,000. And then 9 years later, you'll have $80,000. So let's go ahead and take a look at the difference here. You had $40,000 that you had pretty much at age 65. Over here, now you have $116,000. So if you notice that even though the money doubled here, it doubled right here, you gave that opportunity for this money to double 2 more times. So from 80,000, it went to 160,000 after those first 9 years. Well, let's take a look at the other one here, 12%. if you notice 12%, it's pretty much what you're doing. Let me go back to this, I apologize. If you notice right here, you're pretty much what you're doing is you're saying, well, it's going to go from 10,000 to 20,000 to 40,000 to 80,000 to 116,000 to 320,000. And if you notice there, after you let this pretty much go back to another 6 years, it pretty much doubles to 164,000. And if you notice that this is where the money doubles after, if you notice right here, it doubles again. And you're still age 65. So just based on what I'm showing you right now, which one do you want to put your monies in, right? And of course, you know, I'm going to ask you to put your responses there. But of course, you know, let me just get to see what you all put in there. Where you want to put your monies at. And this is a tricky question, by the way, okay? And it's a good question, but it's a trick question. And the reason why is because, you know, it depends on the type of investor you are. You see, some people are like, you know what, I could put my monies at 12%, knowing that it's a more aggressive account. You see that? But because you guys are young, I don't know if you've seen the market, it's gonna do this, right? So if it does that, and you could take a hit while young. But if I have somebody that's about to retire, then I'm not gonna put their monies there. I'm probably gonna put it somewhere over here. So it just depends on the investor, but because you're so young, you still have time. And speaking of time, let's go ahead and talk about that. I'm almost running out of time, by the way. But speaking of time, I want you to take a look at this example here. Tell me, like, okay, so you have Lisa and you have Pablo. And just by looking at this right here, you have 24,000 that Lisa invested for 10 years and Pablo invested 48,000. Which one of these do you think, or who is making the most money here? Just by looking at these numbers here. Who's pretty much making the most money, right? Of course, Pablo's probably making the most money, probably, right? Just based on this, all right? But let's take a look at this. Time is important, okay? Time is so important. Let me give you the full scenario. You have Lisa and you have Pablo. Lisa and Pablo go to college together. They graduate together. And now they say, hey, I want to go ahead and start saving. And of course, Lisa starts saving right away. If you notice, she starts saving somewhere where it's going to give her a 6% of investment. And she starts saving. So she puts money all the way, like you notice right away, she's putting monies right away. And she's pretty much contributing all her money right away, right? $24,000. Pablo says, nah, I'm not going to put monies. Why am I going to put monies? I want to enjoy my life. So he's making 6% of zero, which is nothing. And then what ends up happening is 10 years later, Pablo sees Lisa, and he says, hey, Lisa, how are you doing? I'm doing good, blah, 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 blah. And then Lisa tells him, well, I've already been investing and I have a lot of money there. I have $30,000. How much do you have, Pablo? And Pablo says, well, I have nothing. So now Pablo says, well, you know what? I better start catching up. I better start investing. And he invests all this time. You see that? He invests $45,000 and Lisa only invested $30,000, right? Well, and Lisa says, you know what? Forget this. I'm not going to invest anymore. That's it. I want to enjoy my life. And she lets her money grow here for the next so many years. But look at what happens. After they retire, Lisa ends up having more money, even though Pablo put more money in there. Why is that? Because of time, ladies and gentlemen. So that becomes so important. Make sure you start saving right away. You saw how the rule of 72 works, where the money starts doubling right away. At the end, right? So you got to give time for that. And of course, as you go, make sure that you get the inflation out of the way as well, okay? The last couple of slides, I really like what Ethan was saying. By the way, Ethan, good job. You did a great job. You know, when you're in business, guys, or when you're in business, or even when life, just in life, but if you want us to start your own business as well and be an investor, there's a difference between the logic and the emotion. There's a difference between the logic and the emotion. Okay, which one do you think is harder? If you wanted to become successful, which one of these do you think is the hardest part? Go ahead and put your response there. From these two, which one do you think is harder, the emotional part or the logical part? So let me tell you the difference between the logical and the emotional. The logical is if I say, you know what, I'm gonna show you how to make $1 million. Here are the steps. Step A, B, C, D, or step 1, 2, 3, 4. Here are the steps. Okay, there's a lot of books on that, by the way. There's a lot of books on how to become a millionaire. So my main question is, why doesn't everybody become a millionaire? There's a lot of books on that, right? But the reason why is because of the emotional part. I want you to start thinking about the EQ. There's a difference between IQ and EQ. The EQ, you need to make sure that you develop it. The IQ, you're pretty much born with your intelligence, right? But with the emotional intelligence, that's something that you could grow, ladies and gentlemen. And let me go ahead and show you this part right here. If you look at The Richest Man in Babylon, I would recommend you read this book. I would recommend you read that book for the logical part. I would recommend you read the book for the emotional part. Those of you who answer which one's the hardest, let me tell you, the logic, it's only 20% of the work. That's the how. Anybody could go tell you exactly how. If you go talk to somebody that's super successful, you could ask him, hey, how did you do it? They'll sit down with you, get some coffee with you, and they'll tell you how they did it. They'll even tell you how to create your own formula so that you could be able to do this, right? They'll tell you, find your ratio when you're in sales. Make sure you find your ratio. They'll tell you how to set your goals. I know that I saw the agenda and some of you were doing that already. That's 20% of the work, ladies and gentlemen. But why are you doing that? Remember how I said, if you find a career, make sure you find it and you fall in love with it. Because if not, you're not going to have a good why. You see that? So why are you doing that? I mentioned the lawnmower man for a reason, by the way. I know people who were lawnmower men that became millionaires because they built a huge business in that area. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because they love what they did and they just build a business. But 80% of that is part of the why. You need to believe, have belief. If somebody tells you you can't do it, don't listen to them. You can do it, okay? Perspective, look at it into a perspective. If somebody said, hey, you're gonna be a very successful man, very successful woman, make sure you understand and you say, yes, I am. I am gonna be successful. Question everything. If somebody tells you, no, you can't do it, say, why not? Why not me? Face the truth. Make sure you take responsibility for yourselves on that. If you're gonna start investing and becoming a business owner. I grew up in El Paso, like I said, and I used to work in the onion fields. And I never learned this until I was in college, after college actually. But during the times that I was working on the onion fields, I felt that I knew I could do something better for myself. And now I want to pass this on to you all because it becomes so important that you do that. Just the last thing, I know I'm already out of time, is that I would like for you all to make sure that you all read that book that I mentioned to you all, Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich. And then the other one that I was gonna tell you all is a list right here, look. How to Win Friends and Influence People becomes huge, very important. And I'm gonna put in the chat room. And actually, these are actually videos that are in YouTube. So you could always watch these on YouTube. They're free, okay? They're even free for you all. So go read them or go listen to them because they become so important. These are the things that I wanna teach my kids. And I feel that you all should learn how to do that. Let's change this around. Let's change this about, oh, our Mexican-American kids can't do it. Yes, we can, we could do it. But you gotta be reading the right books. You gotta be doing the right things right now so that you could be able to get to that level. With that, I wanna thank you all for today's, for inviting me for today. I know that I'm pretty short on questions, but if I have time, if not, I wanna thank you all. You could always contact me. I'll put my contact information as well. Thank you for your time.
I think we do have some time for some questions. If anyone does have some questions, feel free to mic on or pop them in the chat.
Awesome. And make sure you read those books, by the way. Those are so important books. You could read them or listen to them on YouTube. They're free. So, you could always hear them out. Skip your listening of music for a little bit and just get this into your thinking process already, okay? Any questions? Thank you, Lilia. Thank you.
And don't be shy. Come on, you can mic on or type in the chat.
Okay, so somebody mentioned that they've read The Richest Man and Rich Dad and Poor Dad and how do you start investing? Well, there's different types of investments that you could start off with. I mean, you could always start with a simple Roth IRA, or a mutual fund, or maybe like an ETF. Those are pretty much simple things that you could start off with. Just make sure that you communicate with your somebody that you might know that does those things, and definitely you could actually do that. The best thing to do is to start saving right away. Make sure you accumulate some money, and then from there on, you could definitely start investing right away. I actually met a 20-year-old. Right now, she just got a job and she's living with her parents, and she started investing $400 a month into a Roth IRA. Just like that, $400 a month. She says, you know what, I don't need this money. I'm living with my parents right now. So she just started. And like I mentioned, my daughter's also starting to invest right now. She's going for nursing, but she's living with us. So she's like that, I don't need the money. So she's gonna start investing a little bit about it. Is it wise to have a 401k? Yes, definitely it's wise, especially if they're matching you. When you have a 401k and they're matching you, it's like free money. What I mean by that is if you put $1 and they're putting in 100% of what you're putting in there up to, let's say 6%, it's great to be able to make sure that you put your monies in there because they're matching you. If they're matching you monies, it's like I said, if you put in 10,000 that year, they're going to put 10,000 themselves. So by all means, it is important to put into a 401k. If you, of course, if with a company that you work with, it's going to give you that opportunity. So always make sure though, that you match it to the max capacity. And by the way, when you start reading The Richest Man in Babylon, it's going to talk to you a little bit about that. Not necessarily about 401k, but you know, it's going to give you samples of how to invest and so on. Perfect. Well, it's up to you, Mr. Gutierrez, as far as how much you should invest in the stock market. By the way, I want you to research dollar cost averaging. I wish I had time to show you that, but dollar cost averaging is a good piece as well. The reason why is because, you know, when people start talking about the stock market that it's bad, don't listen. Think about it. When would you rather go shopping? When there's a sale or when there's no sale? You all see that? I'd rather go shopping when there's a sale, when everything's cheap. Well, when the stock market goes down, everything is super cheap. So for example, if Netflix is down on their stock, you know, you might want to go buy some stock. Why? Because it's super cheap. Eventually it's going to go back in value. So if you see, if I wanted to do that, it's going to be important for me to buy when the market is down, not necessarily when it's up. And that's why dollar cost averaging, if you go research that, it's going to show you the importance of investing on a monthly basis, even if the market is going to go up and down. Okay. Do you need a job to start investing? Well, if you have monies that you have saved, you don't necessarily need a job, but you do have to show where it's coming from. So if it's coming from your savings and so on, you could actually start saving some money. Yes. Well, actually, Miss Lizette, it depends. It depends if you want to save. The question was, which is the best place to invest in my personal opinion, stock or an account, a savings account. It just depends what kind of investor you are. If you're, and not only that, but it depends also as to what are you going to use that money for? How long are you going to need that money? So for example, if you're going to save because you're going to need the money in 3 years, then it might not necessarily be good to put in a Roth IRA, for example. You might want to put it on a savings because you're going to need that money right away, soon, in the next 2 years, 3 years. So that's the reason why you might, you know, it depends on what is the purpose of that money. So like, for example, if you're going to use it for college, you might want to put it into like a college plan, a savings plan, but not necessarily into a Roth IRA, for example. Okay, so that becomes important as well. How do you know what company to invest? You know, that's a good question. And to be honest with you, it just start looking at the trends. I mean, some of you all have not seen this, but I know that, for example, when Netflix came along, you know, a lot of my friends were like, wow, it's a good company. I love it. Start seeing what other people are using. You know, think about it. If you see people using something a lot, that means that it's going to become a very good product. Instead of you spending time on, let's say, what is that? I hope I say it right because my kids make fun of me. Is it TikTok? Did I say it right? I'm sorry. But if you're, instead of using that and being able to do all these pictures and all this stuff, start looking at the trends. People are using that. Okay, how can I invest on that? Is there stock on that? People are using Netflix. How can I invest on that? Is there stock on that? So start looking at the trends of what people are using, and that's going to help you out as well to be able to know what to look for. But instead of you being the consumer, okay, become the investor. Okay, what is a Roth IRA? A Roth IRA is pretty much a place where you could put for retirement. It's going to allow you to put in a certain amount of money. Okay, and then when you become 59 and a half, you'll be able to use it for retirement. But the difference between a Roth IRA, let's say, and an IRA is that with an IRA, your money is going to be tax deductible and tax deferred. So whenever you accumulate monies, the money that you accumulate, all that money is taxable. If you put your monies as tax-free, after taxes, it's going to grow tax deferred. But when you pull it all out, it's going to be tax-free. So there's a difference in that as well when you're doing that.
I think I have time for one more question.
Okay. How does investing in stocks and real estate affect your taxes? Well, you know, the thing is this depends. Real estate has its own purpose on the taxes, but let me give you a perfect example. If you do real estate and you were to buy, let's say, an apartment or a duplex, it is going to help you to get tax deductions for that. But of course, the money that you earn, okay, you're going to be paying taxes on it. As far as an investment, you know, it's the same thing. If you put your monies on it and you make, if you put money somewhere and it's going to make money, be ready to pay taxes if it's not under the umbrella of an IRA or a Roth IRA or a 401k, because that's what tax deferred means, okay? Tax deferred means that if you put your money and you invest it, it pretty much allows you to be able to have a deferred on that tax, okay? All right, I think I have, I think I ran out of time, unless you want me to continue answering some of these. They're really good questions, by the way. And maybe what I could do is stay afterwards and try to answer some of these questions as well.
Yeah, they're definitely interesting. But we're gonna have to move on to the next presentation. But I mean, you could stay, answer in the chat, or maybe you could stay after for those that are interested.
Yeah, definitely.
A little bit after, if you know, if you'd like. Mr. Salano, can we get the slideshow up and running? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Now go ahead and get started. So the next presentation is titled "Don't Be Afraid to Reach," and I'm going to be presenting this one. So next slide, please. So I'd like to introduce you, and well, this is the last presentation of the day. So if you made it this far, I would like to congratulate you. You guys have been a good audience. You guys have been interacting in the chat. I'm glad it hasn't been awkwardly silent at all, and you know, we've been able to answer some questions that y'all have. Definitely from that last one, that finance is really interesting. I'm going to be talking about some opportunities that you have. I know us seniors, you know, you're getting ready to apply to college. You probably already have a college list, so it may not apply as much to you, but those of you who are underclassmen, especially if you're a junior, I think this will really help you out. And then freshman, sophomore, I'm not saying this won't apply to you, but this is something for you to start thinking about, something you need to start working for. And I'm going to touch back up on what Ethan said. It's good to be motivated, to have a goal to strive for, because, you know, it's important for you to like know what you want to do. And I think that's one of the things I've taken away most from today. And I think something that Maria really reiterated. And then if you have any questions, you can ask them throughout. Fernie, I'm going to ask you to, like, if you see any questions that maybe I can answer at the moment, and you can mic on and just ask it for the person. Other than that, you can just keep it in chat or do the raise hand feature that we have on Zoom, and then you can mic on.
Josue, could you repeat that?
Like, if there's questions during my presentation, you can feel free to mic on while I'm talking, and we could get those answered.
All right, I'll try to answer them in the chat so I don't interrupt you.
All right. Oh yeah, but if people can mic on as well. All right, next slide, please. All right, so a little bit about myself. My name is Josue Cruz. I'm a senior at McAllen High School. I've done first robotics 4 years at Mac High, and I put my college list on here. And you might think, oh, why is this relevant? Well, I'm gonna go into it a little bit more. So, you know, it's good to reach, and like I want to go back to like a little bit of history. In like the 1960s, when John F. Kennedy became president, he started this thing called the space race. And I'm going to invite one of my friends from Memorial. His name is Caleb Vasquez, and although like they did reach the moon in 1969, but Caleb, can you tell us a bit more about what they're trying to do now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I mean, well, now they're just trying to get to Mars. I mean, you got people like Elon Musk really pushing this Mars agenda, with them launching the Perseverance rover this past July. I mean, they're really starting to push that whole Mars agenda, and hopefully maybe soon in the next 10, 15 years, we can get some people on Mars.
Exactly, and it's all about innovation, right? I mean, I'm kind of biased, so I'll tell you, I do know about more like engineering stuff. And like Caleb said, you know, they're trying to get to Mars, and this could change the world. You know, we don't know what's going to happen, right? But they expect them, I believe, by 2030 to have at least the first human on Mars, which is just incredible. We're in 2020, so 10 years from now, you know, and we'll be seeing that. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about some opportunities that you guys can have. So obviously, have you in the chat put it like, have you ever felt like you can't accomplish something? Like maybe like you're competing against someone and you know you're gonna lose, and you say that to yourself, like, oh, I don't have a chance at all. Put that in the chat. Have you ever felt like that? All the time, yeah. And that's important for you to like identify, because I've definitely done it, and that's why I'm presenting today. I have, you know, we grow up from the valley, you know, you don't think much of like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm not gonna do things, blah blah blah. But I want you guys to like take that and turn that into some motivation that you guys can use for yourselves, because I'm gonna go over what I've been able to do throughout my high school career. But these are some of the opportunities that, like, although like you're gonna apply to these and you may think you're not enough, do it. Do it because you never know what happens. You only go through high school once. And that's the biggest piece of advice that it's really impacted me. You only get to do this process once. You only get to go to high school once. And if you don't take advantage of the opportunities that you get throughout high school, then you're never gonna get back to do it again. So first of all, I'm gonna go into flying programs. Flying programs are programs that invite students to colleges for tours, and they show student interest. Most of these you have to apply for. So like this is where you show all your stats. Obviously, this year the SAT requirement might be optional for most colleges, and like don't let a number define who you are, because you're here today. You're part of CTSO, and you're doing extracurricular activities and you're making an impact. You're doing something, and that shows that you're motivated and you're trying to strive for greatness. Summer camps, a lot of these are offered as well. I know some of y'all maybe have registered for the college board. When you take a PSAT or an SAT, they ask for your email and they ask, oh, can we send you messages, and you get probably a bunch of junk mail that you consider. But some of these aren't maybe aren't junk mail. Summer programs are offering some of those emails, and it's good for you to look out, especially the colleges you're interested in or the field you're interested in. You should definitely participate in those college the summer camps that they offer, because they're great. And the online programs as well. They're more common now with COVID. Obviously, the COVID situation has made this much tougher. But I think all of y'all should take advantage of the online programs that are offered. Maybe it's not an actual camp, it may be just a course online. I know Harvard had a coding one that they had for free, I believe, this past summer. It's probably still up there. But y'all can definitely take advantage of some of these programs have been free, especially with the COVID pandemic. And if you're a junior, this is the year for you to make your list, start thinking about that. If you're a freshman, this is the year for you to kind of try new things, see what you like, and then strive for that. College apps. The next one applies to most of y'all seniors. It's important for you to make a list, identify what you want to do, what colleges will suit you best. So think about what I've learned about colleges. Colleges won't accept you just because you're not good enough. They'll accept you if you're a good suit. So if they don't think you're gonna fit in, they think you're gonna have just a hard time, fitting into the environment, then maybe they won't accept you. But that doesn't mean your application isn't good enough. But I think it's good enough for you to practice your essays, your writing skills, and just and then you got to put your extracurricular activities on there. So it's important for you to do extracurriculars that you like. Don't do them just to do them. Do them because you have a general interest in that field and you like participating in that. And that will show that college, oh, I'm interested in like engineering, for me as an example. So I would apply to colleges that are oriented towards engineering, and especially the biomedical and aerospace, which I've grown to like. And scholarships, these are important, especially as a senior. Apply to scholarships. This is money that you don't have to pay back. This is money for you. Some scholarships you can keep and you can use it in your bank account. They give you a check or something like that, and you could take advantage of these funds to buy yourself stuff for your college dorm, anything that you may need to move in. It's because it's time to think about that. So those last two really apply to seniors, because it's important for you to keep that in mind. The flying programs more for juniors, but you can eye those as a freshman or as a sophomore. Summer camps and online programs, the lower classmen should definitely take advantage of those. So I'm going to share something that I've been able to do this summer. So next slide, please. I didn't think I was going to be able to do all these programs that I've been able to do this past summer. It really surprised me. So I have a rocket, obviously, because we're shooting for the moon, right? We never thought we would get to the moon. And in 1969, the first astronauts, Neil Armstrong, put a step on that moon. I never thought I was going to be able to do these programs that I did. So I told my counselor, was it 2 years ago? I told her I'm going to apply to these schools as a joke, just to see if I stand a chance. So my calculus teacher told me about this program called MOSTEC. It's an MIT sponsored program, and I didn't think I stood a chance. And I applied just for the sake of it, right? Just for fun. And at my surprise, I was able to get in, and I really didn't think so. And that just showed me to don't let yourself down. Don't say you can't do something, because it's very doable. I've been able to do this program. This program has helped me a lot. Some of the things I'm telling y'all today that you've been listening to today, I've learned from this program. I also got to work for Columbia CU Squared. It's an engineering program, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it's also some programs. So I think, and I also got into the flying program. The bottom one is a flying program from MIT WISE. I was also able to participate in that. And I can just say I've learned so much. And I think just being able to talk to others across the United States, like having that sense of community, really helped. And that's something I really want you all to like take into account. Like, don't say you're not enough, because all the people I've talked to never thought they'd get into this program, or never thought they would, be doing the things they're doing now. And I think it's really important for y'all to take into account that y'all are able to do these things. And I've been able to do these things. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I've been given. But I think it comes from first believing in yourself, trying to say, maybe I do stand a chance. Don't tell yourself no. Don't put yourself down, because if you do, then that's not going to be good. And then maybe you won't even have a chance to apply to these programs. And like I told you, you only get to do it once. If you don't do it, then you never know what would have happened. So right now, if we go back to my list, I'm in the middle of applying to MIT. I have planned to apply to Stanford and Columbia regular decision. So if y'all are seniors out there and are still thinking colleges to apply, it wouldn't hurt to put a dream college on there, because you never know what would happen. You never really know. And I would motivate you to do so, because if you don't do it, then you never know what would have happened. And I do have a list, a spreadsheet of like flying programs and like all these programs that you can do. So, and I can definitely share you the lists on the Google Classroom with y'all later. Next slide, please. I believe the next one is questions. So do you have any questions on like what flying programs are, or like scholarships and stuff like that? Put that in the chat or mic on.
How did you hear about all of these like programs and things like that? Like, how did you hear about them? Did you look them up yourself, or?
So the scholarships wise, I believe at McAllen, I'm pretty sure MIT does this. They give you like a packet and it's full of scholarships, but most of it came from my own research. And I'm really hoping what take away from today is that I hope that McAllen ISD really pushes more like the flying programs, the scholarships, because they really help. I mean, I'm obviously an engineering based student, so I will look for engineering programs that I can participate in. But if you're into finance or into all these other ones, you can look for specific camps or programs that's that specify in that field, and they can help you. Have you used Raise Me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got you that. I did at one point, but I kind of stopped using it but I feel like I believe someone told me about one. I believe she's in the chat. I think FastWeb. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You know who I'm talking to. You know who you are. You can put the link in the chat. Those also work. But yeah, I've used Raise Me at some point. I mean, it helped. Someone said congratulations. Yes, thank you. I mean, I didn't think I was gonna be able to do the things able to do. But it's important for you to believe in yourself. Raise Me, yeah, you can use those little apps. I mean, they help you find scholarships and stuff like that based off your numbers, your stats, the person you are. A lot of these are based off ethnicity. A lot of them are based off the things you do. So definitely. And thank you, Jason. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about like what colleges, or actually in the chat, I would like for y'all to put what colleges do you think you're applying to? Where are you applying to?
Someone's asking if your grades played a huge part in it, or was it just the program?
What do you mean? Like, you can mic on. Like, what do you mean? Like the acceptance into the program, or like whatever? You could mic on. Because a lot of these are based off like your performance, but a lot of this is based off your extracurriculars as well. And that's why I'm stressing that like you're here today. You're part of an extracurricular activity, and that shows that you're already motivated to do something, something that you really like. And I wrote a lot. My essays are a lot about engineering, and like I think if Solana turns his camera on, the things behind him are 3D printers, and that's what I really found my passion. And like I really just like, he can tell you I use a 3D printer for no reason sometimes. Like for some of our English projects, I'll show up with like a 3D printed project, and I just use it. It's fun to do it. I see a lot of Rice, Baylor, MIT got to shoot for the stars. Yes, Maria. UT Austin, pretty good school. We're growing a lot. And then Baylor, U of H, Rice. And like, whoever, like if you're like a underclassman, start making a list. A list is really important for you to make. I mean, like, and don't think it's not possible. I mean, do it, because maybe you don't know. Maybe you only get to do it once, like I said, and maybe you'll surprise yourself and you'll be shocked at the things you're able to do. I saw someone put UCLA. Yes, Edward. Eden put Rice, UT, U of H, UT, RGV. And like, if you're not sure about it yet, yeah, you have 4 years to think about it. If you're a freshman, right? I think Gabrielle, you said you were a freshman. But yeah, like Miss Pena said, grades are just part of it. And what you do in high school, your extracurricular, all like what you're able to accomplish is what you can put on your app. And like something will happen in your high school career that maybe will motivate you. Maybe you're gonna base your essays off of it. Essays are really important as well. Like make sure you take time to like express yourself. Just write about something you're passionate about. But I think the most important thing I've learned throughout these programs and like the applications is like to be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, then you're writing about someone you're not, and maybe you're not as passionate as writing about something that you really enjoy or really passionate about. But yeah, believe in yourselves. Like Maria said, you only get to do this once, like I said. So do it, have fun, and if you get rejected, it's their loss. Like I saw someone told me that it's the college's loss. Maybe like, things happen for a reason. I know someone that told me they applied to 28 schools and they got rejected to 22. They only got into 6. But he's happy where he's at today. And that shows me that things happen for a reason, and it's just important to keep yourself motivated and work hard and strive for what you want to do and what you want to be in the future. If no other questions are going to be presented, Mr. Saldana, can you pop the activity on for us? And then let's start on this. All right, so we said we had door prizes, and we will be giving out 3 Echo Dots as part of the Kahoot. Another one will be given out at random, based off your completion of the exit ticket that Ms. Pena has put on the chat. On the Google Classroom. Other than that, please take time to join. Please use your actual name, so we could find you and we know who to give the prizes to. Yeah, feel free to join, please.